Welcome to the fantasy audiobook. Everyone. God level talent. All items dropped. Chapter 21. 2 minutes later, another elite wild boar broke into view. Wei Kai took a closer look and found another wild boar with powerful magic power. It's a good time. The feeling of having it delivered to your door is just different. Wei Kai rushed forward without saying a word. 2 minutes later, the elite wild boar was successfully killed, and another pink legendary equipment exploded. However, when Wei Kai picked up the equipment, he couldn't help but be stunned for a moment. Why is it a helmet again? In addition to weapons, a warrior's equipment also has 5 parts: helmet, armor, gloves, pants and shoes. In the wild boar suit, Wei Kai has already obtained 2 pieces, a helmet and combat boots. He also didn't expect that what fell this time was his helmet. Is this a coincidence or a pattern? Unfortunately, the samples are too small and there is no way to summarize the rules. Forget it, let's try brushing a few more. Killing the elite wild boar this time, although the equipment that exploded was repeated, the experience gained allowed Wei Kai to level up. After working for more than half an hour, Wei Kai finally reached level 5. Level 5 is a small threshold. Reaching level 5 means you can learn new skills. However, it is not that easy to learn skills. Not only do you have to return to the city, you also have to buy the corresponding skill books. Although warrior skill books are not as rare as recipes, they are equally valuable. Forget it, I'll continue to level up here. What if it explodes? With the talent of all items dropped, it won't take a minute to get the skill book. After making up his mind, Wei Kai took a short rest and continued to kill monsters. Half an hour later, when the 6th elite wild boar died under Wei Kai's sword, he finally understood one thing. The drops of elite wild boars are indeed related to the entries on them. In just half an hour, he killed 3 elite wild boars one after another, one of which had a rough skin and thick flesh entry and eventually dropped a piece of armor. The other 2 have exactly the same powerful magic, and the suit that finally drops is still the wild boar helmet. Counting the 2 helmets that fell before, Wei Kai has already obtained 4 wild boar war helmets. And all of them are dropped by elite wild boars with powerful magic. In other words, the term powerful magic corresponds to the helmet part. And the helmet parts happen to increase the attribute of magic. In addition, agility corresponds to combat boots, which is the agility attribute. The armor corresponding to rough skin and thick flesh is the physical attribute. According to this calculation, the counterpart of infinite strength should be strength, that is, the glove parts. The last mental attribute corresponds to the pants part. I just don't know what the entry is called. Wei Kai thought about it and suddenly smiled with relief. It seems that we still have to have a head-on confrontation with that powerful elite wild boar. If you want to get the glove parts of the suit, you must kill an elite wild boar with great strength. This can be considered a test. But before that, we have to get the pants parts first. Children all know that persimmons should be picked soft when pinched. There is no difference between the elite wild boars with spiritual entries and those with magic entries. They are both the easiest to kill. After you have collected all 4 sets, put them all on. Even if there is no suit effect, the sprinting to increase strength skill that comes with the wild boar suit is superimposed, and maybe it can really compete with the elite wild boar in the power entry. Thinking of this, Wei Kai took action immediately without hesitation. After another hour, Wei Kai finally found a vigorous, elite wild boar. Without any hesitation, he sprinted directly, then picked up, then made 3 straight moves, and finally finished with a down-cut move. The whole process was smooth and seamless. From discovering the elite wild boar to killing it, it only took less than half a minute. If anyone else saw his process of spawning monsters, they would probably be stunned. After all, this is a level 6 elite wild boar. How many professions at the same level can kill monsters so easily? What's more, Wei Kai is still 1 level lower. After killing this elite wild boar with a spiritual entry, Wei Kai finally got the pants part of the wild boar suit. Other than that, there are no special drops. Next, we have to find a wild boar with a power entry. It's been so long, I don't know if the one in the morning was killed. Wei Kai couldn't help but chuckle when he thought of the scene in the morning. The team failed to grab the monster, but instead were knocked upside down by the wild boar, and one after another was hit and sent flying. Another person was seriously injured. With the loss of one person, I don't know if they still have the ability to kill the elite wild boar with the power entry. Would you like to go back and take a look? Forget it, one more thing is worse than one less thing. Wei Kai asked and answered himself, and then continued walking into the forest. An hour later, Wei Kai looked at the vast forest and completely lost his temper. I don't know what happened, but during this hour, in the huge wild boar forest, not even an elite wild boar with a power entry appeared. Is there no elite monster with the second power entry today? Wei Kai scratched his head and simply stopped to rest for a while. How about, let's go back and take a look. It can't be found in the forest anyway. What if the elite wild boar was not killed? I have to go and see it, so as not to worry about it all the time. For more than an hour, every time he met an elite wild boar with other entries, he would think of that power entry. As time went by, my heart almost became crazy. If I don't go back and take a look, I won't be reconciled. Walk. Just as he was about to leave, Wei Kai immediately stood up, turned around and walked out of the forest. 10 minutes later, when he was about to reach the exit of the wild boar forest, a familiar figure finally appeared in front of him. Wei Kai took a closer look and laughed immediately. The entry is correct, it's the wild boar. However, his smile soon turned into surprise, because in front of the pig, there was actually a heavily armored warrior. Help! The other party seemed to have noticed him and immediately shouted for help. This voice was also familiar. Wei Kai was stunned on the spot. No, it's been several hours and it hasn't been done yet. He quickly glanced around, and then discovered several people lying on the ground. These guys were all weak, and they looked like they were seriously injured. Were they all injured by wild boars? Wei Kai was stunned for a moment. This elite wild boar with infinite power is too fierce. A pig actually singled out the entire team, and except for the heavily armored warrior who still persisted, everyone else was almost wiped out. This is a strange brush. Help me quickly. Ah, I'm so confused. Oh, I'm so confused. I want to go home. The cry for help from the heavily armored soldier came and went, and Wei Kai also watched him being chased all over the place by the elite wild boar. To save or not to save? Wei Kai only hesitated in his mind for a second before making up his mind. Save. Since the era of national awakening, the Dragon Kingdom has relied on the unity of its people to protect its major cities from the endless tide of monsters. As a combat professional, everyone has the obligation to save others. Especially when encountering monsters in the wild, saving people can not only get official awards but also rewards from game data. That is reputation value. However, for Wei Kai, those are secondary. His target is the powerful elite wild boar. I'll hold it back while you go rescue it. Wei Kai yelled and sprinted towards the elite wild boar. Bang! The elite wild boar was knocked out on the spot and rolled several times before getting up unsteadily. Seeing this scene, the heavily armored warrior was stunned. Is this power too high? Even with his 37 points of strength, he couldn't block the wild boar's collision. As a result, the opponent knocked the wild boar away. Could it be that this guy's strength has exceeded 40 points? Stop looking. Wei Kai saw him standing still and quickly reminded loudly, "Go rescue people first, I will hold this wild boar back." Ah, good. The heavily armored warrior nodded quickly, then was stunned for a moment, but I don't know how to treat. Go back to the city and find the emergency medical team. Wei Kai reminded loudly. In order to prevent accidents for novices during leveling, the official organization organized an emergency medical team specifically responsible for treating novices, which included not only treatment professionals but also high-level combat professionals. It's just that the leveling area is too big to follow at any time, so the station is placed at the city gate. Once novices encounter danger, they can immediately seek help from them. There are several ways to seek help. One is those who have purchased rescue services and can be on call at any time. The other kind has no money to buy and can only go to them in person for help. Wei Kai didn't know whether the other party bought it, so he simply asked him to go back and ask for help. Oh, I'll make a call right now. After the heavily armored soldier finished speaking, he immediately took out his cell phone. Hearing that the other party was about to call for help, Wei Kai frowned immediately. If the other party calls the rescue team over, won't this elite wild boar be snatched away again? Even if it is not taken away, once he kills this elite wild boar, the other party will be able to see the dropped items that explode. The equipment and materials all over the floor couldn't cover it up at all. If so, wouldn't he be exposed? No, we have to find a way to take this wild boar away. Wei Kai quickly came up with an idea, so he took the initiative to stop his attack and let the wild boar hit him. I have to say that this powerful elite wild boar is indeed powerful. Wei Kai was knocked several steps away at once. Fortunately, he rolled in time and managed to recover. Ouch, so fierce. He quickly stood up, shouted, then turned around and ran away, not forgetting to turn around and provoke. As a result, the elite wild boar chased after him. Just like that, one person and one pig quickly rushed into the forest and disappeared in the blink of an eye. Seeing this scene, the heavily armored soldier who had just finished making a phone call was stunned. No. Why are you missing? You were still there just now, why can't you beat me all of a sudden? Oh, forget it. Anyway, his strength is high enough, so his strength should not be bad. It's better to wait for the rescue team to arrive. After struggling for a while, the heavily armored warrior did not follow, but chose to wait where he was. Compared to that elite monster, the lives of the team members are more important. On the other side, after Wei Kai pulled the elite wild boar into the forest, he immediately stopped and then turned his head. Have you had enough trouble? Now it's my turn. He smiled slightly, kicked the ground hard with both feet, and rushed towards the elite wild boar. The effect of the wild boar suit is to gain 5 points of strength bonus when sprinting can be superimposed. Wei Kai has now put on 4 pieces of wild boar suits. Although he has lost the suit effect of the novice suit 10 points of full attributes, the parts of the legendary novice suit also have a strength bonus. Coupled with the 20 points of strength when sprinting, once he starts sprinting, his strength attribute will be as high as 40 points. He is fully qualified to collide with the elite wild boars. Sure enough, seeing Wei Kai rushing over, the elite wild boar also activated its collision skill and rushed over like a truck. The next moment, the two sides collided violently. Boom! The two sides were like two high-speed trucks, crashing into each other. Then they bounced away. After losing the full attribute bonus of the novice suit, Wei Kai's current physique is a bit low. After this collision, I suddenly felt dizzy. But when he discovered that the elite wild boar was in even worse condition, he burst out laughing. Haha, luckily I'm more skilled. Both sides fell into a dazed state, but Wei Kai recovered faster. 2 seconds later, as soon as the stun condition was lifted, Wei Kai rushed forward to perform a last-ditch attack. This time, he never gave the opponent a chance to activate the collision skill. A set of smooth combos directly killed this infinitely powerful elite wild boar. Boom! The elite wild boar exploded again, and the exciting pink light illuminated Wei Kai's eyes. Hey, there are more than one. He was stunned for a moment, but he quickly swept away all the dropped items and picked them all up into his backpack. Then I looked at it carefully. Boar armor, legendary, light armor. Level 5. Strength 15. Physical attack power plus 10. When sprinting, gain 5 points of strength bonus can be superimposed. One of the wild boar charge sets, which can achieve powerful effects when collected together. This was exactly the equipment he had dreamed of, and Wei Kai put it on without hesitation. After putting it on, the effect of the suit finally appeared. Wild boar charge set effect. Obtain the skill, charge. If you have learned it, the level will be +1. When charging, the sprint speed is doubled and the strength bonus is doubled. Hiss, that's awesome. Seeing this effect, Wei Kai couldn't help but take a breath of hot air. Other sets only increase attributes and so on, but this set is so good that it actually gives you a skill for free. Although charging is not an advanced skill, this set does not limit occupations. In other words, anyone who wears this set of equipment can obtain the charge skill of a warrior. That's not all. When launching a charge, you can actually get bonuses to sprint speed and strength. The original 5 pieces of equipment can get 25 points of strength bonus when sprinting, and doubling it will get 50 points of strength. My dear, this is just a dump truck. Don't call this thing a wild boar suit. Let's just rename it a dump truck suit. Wei Kai couldn't help but complain. The level of this wild boar suit is not high, and it is not limited to occupations. In other words, anyone can wear it as long as they reach level 5. Then you can get a charge skill and a 50-point strength bonus when charging. Transform into a dump truck on the spot and kill whoever you hit. Any job changer will not be able to have 50 strength points before level 20 as long as they do not add all their strength. If you don't add points, or you are a weak mage or assassin, even if you reach level 30 in one turn, you may not have such high power. In other words, even life professionals can be invincible below level 20 as long as they wear this suit. Whoever comes will be hit and fly out. If this thing is used for sneak attacks, it will be invincible. Once knocked away by a sneak attack, if you don't have any life-saving skills, you will lose half your life after falling, and you will also be seriously injured. Once seriously injured, it's like a piece of meat on the chopping board, and you can do whatever you want to do it. This picture is terrifying just thinking about it. Wei Kai suddenly shook his head and couldn't help but sigh. Sure enough, good equipment is the key. I will have to buy more equipment in the future. After saying this, he looked at another pink light in the backpack. 9 turns of the large intestine. Another cookbook. Wei Kai smiled. But fortunately, this recipe book is just right for Xiao Yi. Anyway, giving 1 copy is also a gift, and giving 2 copies is also a gift. For a chef, the more recipes, the better. Wei Kai also needs these recipes and foods to increase his attributes. Although the addition of 1 dish is small, over the years, it is still a quite astonishing figure. If you are afraid of being exposed, just don't make it for outsiders to eat. Well, I have to leave some large intestine for him. Once you have a recipe, you need ingredients, which is also the troublesome part of making recipe food. Of course, if there were no restrictions on ingredients, recipe foods would have been all over the streets, and there would be no way they would be so precious. After reading the recipe, Wei Kai turned his attention to other dropped items. The result was a bit disappointing for him. Except for these 2 pink pieces, the other dropped items are all ordinary items, the most common of which are whiteboard equipment. These whiteboard equipment are basically worthless. No matter what combat profession they are, as long as they reach level 5, they will try their best to get a high-end blue suit. Who wears whiteboard gear anymore? The only place for these whiteboard equipment is to be refined into fine iron by an alchemist. How about, just leave these things to Chonglin for practice? Wei Kai suddenly thought of another friend of his. Speaking of which, Li Changelin seems to have not found anything to do yet. Just as he was thinking about it, a shout suddenly came from outside the woods. Beautiful boy, pig-killing handsome boy, where are you? Quote question mark question mark question mark quote. Hearing this call, Wei Kai rolled his eyes immediately. I saved your lives anyway, just don't call me your benefactor, but you actually said I was a pig butcher. But then I thought about it, and it seemed like there was nothing wrong with it. In the past 2 days, he did kill a lot of wild boars. Oh, I'm here. Joking aside, Wei Kai responded immediately. After all, the elite wild boar has been dealt with and the equipment has been obtained. All that is left is to send these people away. Are you okay? After a while, the heavily armored warrior came over looking for the sound, followed by several companions and 2 unfamiliar adult men. Apparently, these 2 strangers were members of the rescue team. Wei Kai quickly determined the other party's identity, then shook his head and said, "It's okay." "Where's the elite boar?" one team member asked. "Run away," Wei Kai replied calmly. "Run away." Everyone in the team suddenly frowned, and one of them asked anxiously, "Why did you run away?" "It's too far, so we're out of the fight." Wei Kai shrugged. "I think he was killed by you," a team member said angrily. "What's the difference?" Wei Kai looked at the other party and asked lightly. "The difference is huge." The man was not polite and said bluntly, "If I were killed by you, what would happen to the explosion?" "Ha!" Wei Kai was immediately amused. "Does the monster I kill have anything to do with you? Even if the artifact is exploded, it won't be your turn." "No, judging from your tone, do I still want to share it with you?" Wei Kai couldn't help but ask with a smile. "No, no, no." Seeing that the atmosphere was not right, the heavily armored soldier quickly stood up to smooth things over. "Whether he was killed or ran away, it has nothing to do with us. Speaking of which, we have to thank you. If you hadn't helped to take away the wild boar, our team would have been doomed. Quote. After saying that, he took something out of his backpack and handed it over. This is a cookbook we got yesterday. It's quite valuable, so just think of it as our thank you gift. Wei Kai heard this and took a look, only to find that it was a barbecue recipe book. He has a lot of this stuff in his backpack. However, for ordinary people, the recipes are indeed difficult to explode, and they are indeed valuable. It makes sense to use it as a thank you gift. Captain, this is what our team got. The previous member couldn't help but said, why should I give it to him? Shut up. The heavily armored soldier suddenly became furious and cursed. If it weren't for this, you would have been trampled to death by wild boars. 10 minutes ago, except for the heavily armored warrior, everyone in their 6-man team was seriously injured. If it weren't for the heavy armor warriors struggling to support themselves, Wei Kai's help would come. Maybe the whole team will die under the hooves of the elite wild boar. Although this world has been digitalized into games, death is really death. Unless you have registered props or skills, everyone only has one life. Once you are killed by a monster, you are truly dead. Therefore, there is no problem in saying that Wei Kai is the savior of their team. However, the team member was still arrogant. Even without him, wouldn't there be other people passing by? Shut up. The heavily armored soldier got angry again and said, I am the captain, you all have to listen to me. As soon as these words came out, the team member suddenly became silent. Seeing this farce, Wei Kai suddenly wanted to laugh. Isn't it just a cookbook? It seems like I don't have one. I don't care. Forget it. He waved his hand and said angrily, I don't want anything in return for saving you. Besides, the 2 uncles from the rescue team also saw this, so they should help me apply for a bravery award, right? He said, looking at the 2 unfamiliar members of the rescue team. Well, as long as you can show a record of bravery, we can help you apply. One of the bearded team members nodded. No problem, you see, this is the reputation I just gained. Wei Kai immediately displayed the system prompt just now. You can gain reputation by acting bravely, helping the weak, and treating illnesses and rescuing people. Although the role of reputation is not big, it is a kind of proof. Prove that you have done good things. So the higher the reputation, the higher the reputation. It is said that when officials select personnel, they will also refer to reputation value. Wei Kai showed his reputation value, which was 30 points in total. It just fits the situation of rescuing 6 people, each with 5 points. After the 2 members of the rescue team read it, they nodded slightly. Okay, we have taken the screenshot and saved it, and we will have the results in 3 days. After saying that, one of them looked at the 6-man team again. Now that the wild boar is gone, let's go back. We must be careful when leveling up in the future and act according to our ability. That is, another rescue team member also admonished. It is not easy for the official to train you. This year, Yongning City has only transferred more than 200 combat professionals. If something happens to you, it will be a big problem for the official. Loss. We know we were wrong. The heavily armored warrior nodded in agreement. I know I was wrong. The rest of the team muttered as well. The 2 members of the rescue team left quickly. The heavily armored soldier didn't want to stay any longer, so he cupped his fists and said, Brother, there is nothing I can repay for saving my life, I can only. Stop it. When Wei Kai heard this, he broke into cold sweat. I am afraid that the other party will say the words, I promise you with my body. I said I don't want anything in return from you, so you should go back first. The heavily armored warrior was stunned for a moment, and then thought of his teammates behind him, so he had to smile bitterly. Okay, let's meet again by chance. After saying that, he turned around. At this moment, the team member who had been arguing before stood up again. Wait, we haven't made it clear about the elite wild boars yet. What do you mean? Wei Kai frowned, feeling a little annoyed. You are a dog skin plaster type, right? Endless. The man put his hands on his hips and said aggressively, we discovered that elite monster, and we did most of the damage, and in the end you took advantage. Ha, Wei Kai sneered in return. So, we also have a share of what that elite monster exploded. The man said brazenly. Oh, Wei Kai raised his eyebrows and sneered, okay. After speaking, he randomly selected a whiteboard from his backpack and threw it out. The whiteboard equipment fell to the ground with a soft sound. Wei Kai took the opportunity to purse his lips again. Here. Go pick it up. You. The player's face turned red with anger and he received a red warning on the spot. Do you think of me as a beggar? Aren't you just a beggar? Wei Kai asked back. As soon as these words came out, the other party broke through the defense and said angrily, I'm going to kill you. As soon as he finished speaking, the whole person turned into a black shadow and rushed towards Wei Kai. Assassin. Wei Kai was stunned for a moment, then laughed. An assassin dares to confront a warrior. Charge. The charge skill you just learned activates instantly. Wei Kai's entire body turned into an afterimage, and he hit the opponent at a speed invisible to the naked eye. The next moment, the other party seemed to have turned into a kite with its string broken, and flew out on the spot. After a while, I heard a muffled sound of a heavy object falling to the ground. And then, there was no more. The rest of the team were stunned. No one expected that it would all end so suddenly, even if it was too late to break up the fight. It took less than 3 seconds from the time the assassin teammate took action until he was knocked out. The most important thing is that this collision not only knocked the assassin teammate away, but also seriously injured him when he landed. Not even a chance to resist. Fortunately, Wei Kai did not go up to hit the target, otherwise the consequences would be disastrous. He simply waved his hand. The uncle from the treatment team should not be far away yet, so go quickly. After saying that, he turned around and left. Only the stunned crowd and the angry and annoyed heavy-armored warrior captain were left. I'm so confused. I have nothing to do and I have to commit suicide. He cursed angrily, and then ran to call someone. 10 minutes later, Wei Kai returned to the forest. The collision just now made him see the power of the dump truck suit. Now, he has a new plan. There is no need to farm elite wild boars. After all, they only drop equipment, and the materials are not as good as ordinary wild boars. And there are not many of them, so just looking for monsters will take at least 10 minutes. The speed of leveling up elite wild boars is really too slow. If you want to level up faster, you have to farm higher level monsters. There are not only wild boars in the wild boar forest, but also monkeys, wild wolves, tigers and other beasts and monsters. Monkeys are too nimble and mostly live in trees, so they are not a good target. Wild wolves are very fast, have high attack power, and come in groups. They are definitely the best targets for leveling. But only if you can beat a group of wild wolves. In the past, Wei Kai would never dare to touch him, but now, with the dump truck set, no matter how many wild wolves there are, they can fly. This move is simply a magical skill for fighting against a group of people. Wei Kai couldn't help but sigh, and at the same time he was thinking, when I go back, should I learn this skill? If you learn it, the effect of the set will be skill level +1. If you don't learn it, you can save a skill point and use it to learn other skills. One more skill equals one more means. The skill points you save can be used to learn skills such as Whirlwind, Crippling Strike, or Battle Cry. It seems that having one more skill is better no matter how you look at it. Wei Kai scratched his head. However, the skill of charging must be learned sooner or later. After all, this is the signature of a warrior. It can be obtained through sets now, and you will have to make up for it when you get new equipment in the future. Otherwise, it means missing a skill to get close to the enemy and rush into the enemy's face. If you don't charge, you will only be walked around in the future. While thinking about it, Wei Kai walked towards the depths of the forest, and the surrounding environment gradually became darker. As I walked, a green eye suddenly appeared in front of me. Wei Kai was stunned for a moment, but quickly realized, the wolf is coming. Well done. He immediately pulled out his long sword and held it in front of him, his eyes fixed on the eyes in the bushes. At this moment, there was a sudden sound from behind. Ouch. 2 wild wolves rushed towards him from different directions. The wild wolf in the grass in front suddenly emerged and roared at Wei Kai. At this moment, he was surrounded by enemies on 3 sides. But fortunately, Wei Kai was calm enough and did not panic because of this. Instead, he calmly rolled to the side. The next moment, 2 wild wolves rushed to his original position at the same time, but unfortunately they missed. Wei Kai quickly got up, and then saw the formation of the 3 wild wolves, and immediately smiled. Getting together. Isn't this just looking for a collision? Anyone who has played games knows this. When monsters get together, it's the best time to use group attack skills. Wei Kai was naturally no exception. He directly activated the charge skill and his whole body turned into an afterimage. Effect of the wild boar charge suit. When charging, the sprint speed is doubled and the strength bonus obtained is doubled. Ordinary wild wolves are level 7 monsters, with slightly higher power than wild boars in their normal state. But facing Wei Kai, who has a full 75 points of strength in a charging state, it is simply not enough. The next moment, the 3 wild wolves were directly knocked away. With a whoop, it turned into 3 streaks of light in midair, and died immediately. Seeing this scene, Wei Kai was also stunned for a moment. Isn't it right? A level 7 wild wolf is so weak. As soon as he finished speaking, dozens of rays of light of various colors burst out from where the corpse disappeared. All kinds of blue sky and white clouds fell to the ground. Wei Kai saw this and quickly picked up all the dropped objects one by one to avoid being seen by others. After picking it up, he started his routine inspection. The drops of wild wolves are naturally different from those of wild boars. The biggest difference is that there are no ingredients and recipes. It seems like no one eats wolf meat these days. In addition, more equipment has been dropped, and several level 10 whiteboard equipment have appeared. The equipment dropped by monsters is generally around level 5 of its own level. The level of the wild wolf is level 7, so the equipment dropped can range from level 5 to level 10. It's a pity that these level 10 equipment are all blank slates. Even the poor can't look down on them. Wei Kai didn't mind it, since he could take it back to Li Chenggelin for processing. Just think of it as training for him. As he was speaking, he looked at a book-like object, and then couldn't help but read the name of the object. Jewelry manufacturing. This is the alchemist's skill book, right? It just came to him as he thought. As an alchemist, Li Chenggelin happened to lack a production skill. This skill book can just make up for it. Simply perfect. The 3 major functions of the alchemist are decomposition, composition and manufacturing. Decomposition is to recycle garbage equipment and refine it into refined iron, refined copper and other materials. The composition is to use various materials to create gemstones with different properties and types. Manufacturing is the use of gems and other materials to make ornaments, utensils, or props. In the past, Li Chenggelin couldn't afford skill books, so he could only rely on the refining skills given when he changed jobs, and spent all day picking up junk whiteboard equipment to refine them. Now that you have this jewelry manufacturing skill book, you have one more way to survive. Okay, this book belongs to Chong Lin. Wei Kai nodded with great satisfaction and then continued reading. After a while, he discovered something new. Wild wolf tusk, a rare material that can be used to strengthen weapons and make accessories. Good stuff. After reading Leng Yi's introduction, Wei Kai suddenly burst into laughter. In this way, the skill book is available and the materials are also available. A high-level monster is so considerate. The dropped items are all in sets, so you can give them whatever you want. Of course, this is also related to his talent. Who told his talent to be called all items drop? If it were anyone else, it would be pretty good to drop one wolf tooth after half a day of brushing. As for crafting skill books, don't even think about it. This thing is rarer than a recipe. It seems that I will stay here today. Wei Kai smiled slightly and looked at the dim forest as if looking at his own gold mine. Spend a day here and not only can you upgrade, but you can also get a lot of materials. It is much more efficient than hunting wild boars outside. Cuckoo. Just as I was thinking about it, a sound of protest suddenly came from my stomach. Wei Kai was stunned for a moment, then took out his phone and took a look, only to realize that it was already 12 o'clock. It's noon so soon. Why do I feel like I haven't killed enough monsters yet? Wei Kai couldn't help scratching his head. He came out at 6:30 in the morning. He didn't expect that more than 5 hours would pass so quickly. It seems that it did take a lot of time to farm the elite wild boar before. However, I'm a little hungry now, so I'd better fill my stomach first. Fortunately, I learned the bonfire skill this morning and can barbecue by myself in the wild. Although it cannot increase its own attributes like the barbecue made by the chef, it is more than enough to fill the stomach. Just do it. Wei Kai quickly found some dry branches, and then lit a bonfire. There is a lot of pork in the backpack, just take it out, skewer it on wooden skewers and grill it. After a while, a bunch of fragrant barbecue was freshly baked, and Wei Kai couldn't help but swallow his saliva. So he immediately started to feast. After finishing one skewer, he still felt it was not satisfying enough, so he quickly grilled 2 more skewers. The second skewer had just been grilled and was about to be eaten when a strange wind suddenly blew nearby. There was a faint fishy smell in the wind. After his mental improvement, Wei Kai's perception of the surrounding environment has also been greatly improved. When the wind picked up, he felt a hint of danger. The fishy smell set off alarm bells in his heart. It was dangerous. He didn't even have time to stand up and rolled directly to the side. The next moment, a huge figure rushed over, but it was in vain. The sound of the giant object falling to the ground shocked Wei Kaixian. When he stood up again, he realized that the one who attacked him turned out to be a tiger. Level 12 tiger. In the wild boar forest, the highest level of ordinary monsters is level 12, which is a tiger. Wei Kai also didn't expect that he would attract a tiger while eating barbecue. He was almost attacked by the opponent. Don't be too lucky. Wrong. Just as he was thinking about it, Wei Kai suddenly noticed something was wrong. Ordinary tigers don't seem to have such simple colors, right? Generally, tigers are black, white, and yellow in color. But the one in front of me seems to be only black and white. Is this the top regional boss in the wild boar forest, the white tiger? Wei Kai almost went weak. An ordinary tiger is level 12, an elite tiger is level 15, and the regional boss white tiger is level 25. A gap of 19 levels. Not to mention just one person, even a newbie joining a group would probably have to be wiped out here. This is something novices can't afford to mess with. It's code, isn't it? Is it possible that I am going to die young and leave the explanation here? The late emperor was not even halfway through his business, but the middle path collapsed. Various situations flashed through Wei Kai's mind, and he was stunned on the spot, with no thought of escaping. The reason is also very simple. There is no escape. As a regional boss, White Tiger not only has a high level, but also has a unique set of skills. One of them is called fear. The feared enemy will stay where he is, trembling, and become a lamb to be slaughtered. Wei Kai is in this state at this time. Roar. The White Tiger looked up to the sky and roared furiously, the sound shaking the dense forest. Wherever the sound wave passed, countless wild beasts, insects, and birds panicked and fled desperately. Wei Kai also wanted to run, but his feet didn't obey him at all. It's over, it's really over now. Once eaten by a white tiger, not even the bones and dregs will be left. Just as he was thinking about it, Bai Hu had already looked towards him, with no emotion in his blue eyes. Only killing remains. Just as he was sitting there waiting for death, a golden light suddenly fell from the sky. Certainly, a soft shout sounded in the trees not far away, and then the golden light turned into a spell, directly covering the white tiger. The next moment, countless sword lights, fighting spirit, arrows, and darts flew out of the trees. Seeing this scene, Wei Kai was stunned on the spot. What's going on? As soon as I finished speaking, reality gave me the answer. A group of combat professionals wearing armor and holding weapons kept popping up from all directions. One by one, they seemed to be growing out of the bushes, popping out. Even Wei Kai was stunned. Could it be that these people have been hiding in the bushes, waiting for the white tiger to spawn? Ah, this is hidden too well, isn't it? He was here before, killing wolves and grilling meat, and he didn't find any trace of anyone after tinkering for a long time. As a result, they suddenly appeared as soon as the regional boss White Tiger appeared. Thinking of this, Wei Kai couldn't help but feel lucky. Fortunately, I didn't pee just now. Just as I was thinking about it, there were new changes in the battle situation over there. The holding talisman only controlled the white tiger for less than 3 seconds. After a moment, the talisman shattered, and Bai Hu's figure immediately became blurred, and quickly disappeared. Those sword lights, arrows, and darts all lost their targets and fell to the ground. Seeing this scene, the people who jumped out of the bushes were also a little panicked and took a few steps back. At this moment, a scream suddenly came from the side. Ah! Wei Kai immediately followed the sound, only to find that the figure of the white tiger had appeared here, and bit the arm of a team member. Click! The arm was broken in response, and the team member was thrown away by the powerful bite force. 6 sons. Disperse! Shield War rushes forward and taunts. The commander of the team immediately roared loudly. The shield-wielding warrior received the order and immediately charged towards him. However, the white tiger remained motionless, completely ignoring the warrior's charge. Seeing this scene, Wei Kai couldn't help but smile bitterly. He is indeed a level 25 regional boss, with at least 150 points of power. Shield Warrior is a first-level branch of warrior and is a type of pure flesh warrior. In terms of bonus points, although all the points are added to physical fitness, the level itself is above level 20. With the blessing of a set of warrior equipment, the strength will not be less than 100 points. As a result, it couldn't even hit it. This shows that the power gap between the two is at least 50 points. No wonder it can throw people away with just one bite. Seeing the bravery of the white tiger, Wei Kai couldn't help but look down at himself. If these people hadn't appeared, he might have been dead. Come on, bite me. Just as he was thinking about it, the shield warrior immediately turned on the taunting mode. Taunting is also a characteristic of pure meat warriors. No matter what kind of pure meat warrior they are, they will try their best to learn this skill to the highest level. After all, this is their core skill and the foundation for their livelihood. A pure meat warrior who doesn't know how to taunt is not a good human shield. As he spoke, several rays of light fell from the sky. While the shield warrior taunted, his teammates also added several layers of buffs to him. The white tiger was instantly excited, and immediately turned its mouth and bit the shield warrior. Shield War took this opportunity and held the shield in both hands to push forward. Bang! The white tiger's bloody mouth bit down on the shield. The force of the shock made him dizzy and the corners of his mouth became numb. At this moment, a gray smoke fell from the sky, like a sleeve covering the white tiger's head. Hit! Someone shouted happily. The long-range output in the team immediately took action, and countless sword lights, arrows, darts, and fireballs were thrown at the white tiger. Some melee professionals also pulled out their weapons, activated their strongest output skills, and attacked the white tiger fiercely. For a moment, smoke and light flashed around Baihu. Wei Kai was so dazzled by what he saw that he couldn't tell which attacks came from which profession. However, this is also normal. After all, there are many kinds of career changes in this world, and every game career you can think of can be found in the real world. There are swords, guns, swords, halberds and sticks from the Eastern martial arts, as well as sword cultivators from the Shenxia, Taoist priests, monks, and evil cultivators. There are also Western fantasy and magic professions, as well as Chinese and Western warriors, rangers, mages, etc. It is precisely because there are too many professions and they are too complicated that the official divides all professions into 3 categories according to their functions: combat professions, auxiliary professions and life professions. The team in front of them is composed of dozens of combat professions and auxiliary professions. Although the profession is messy, the leader of the team is quite powerful and can command so many people in an orderly manner. Whether it's taking damage, output, or treatment and assistance, it's all very accurate. Under the siege of this group of people, half of the blood bar on Baihu's head quickly fell away. However, everyone did not relax at all, but became more and more vigilant. Sure enough, when the health bar was about to reach 1/3, the hair on Baihu's body stood on end, and the majesty of a strong man instantly enveloped everyone. Roar! Baihu roared loudly, and his whole body began to smell black and white. Seeing this scene, the team commander immediately shouted, "Full warrior, charge! Everyone, interrupt skill preparation. Assistant buffs the full power warrior. Be sure to knock it off." The next moment, the 2 full-strength warriors hiding near the white tiger glowed with red light, and several buffs fell on their heads. Then the 2 of them gathered strength at the same time and slammed into one of Baihu's back legs. Drink, drink. With 2 loud shouts, 2 full-strength warriors slammed into Baihu's legs, and the latter staggered immediately. The black and white aura emerging from his body also dimmed a bit. The next moment, Countless skills fell on the white tiger, and the black and white energy disappeared at a speed visible to the naked eye. 3 seconds later, all the black and white energy was consumed, and Bai Hu seemed to be seriously ill, and his whole body shrank. Output with all your strength. Kill. With one order, all output skills fell on Bai Hu's head, whether it was melee combat or long-range combat. White Tiger's health bar disappeared in a flash, just like riding a roller coaster. Woo! After a moment, the White Tiger let out a mournful cry, fell heavily to the ground, and disappeared into a stream of light. Bang! Countless rays of light burst out from where the White Tiger's body disappeared. The equipment exploded. Kill the boss and explode equipment. What an exciting moment. Everyone in the team became excited, and everyone looked at the exploded equipment with longing expressions. Wei Kai was also attracted by this sound and looked at the ground. And then, he was disappointed. The regional boss can explode a lot of equipment and materials, especially this kind of regional boss. Not only is there a chance to break out epic equipment, but there is even a slight possibility of mythical equipment. At least there is a legendary equipment as a guarantee. However, among the light on the ground, there was only a streak of pink, which made people's expressions change. The same was true for those team members. Their originally excited expressions suddenly turned into disappointment after seeing the color of the equipment. What bullshit luck. I'm confused, why is it only one piece? Is this a guarantee? Rubbish. Who gave the last blow? You will be banned from taking a bath for a month. This is too dark. The members of the team are basically around level 25, and some have even reached level 30. Combat professionals of this level have a fixed team to defeat the boss, so they basically no longer look down on ordinary legendary equipment. They come here to guard the White Tiger, and their purpose is not to acquire 1 or 2 pieces of legendary equipment, but to get better epic equipment. Or the top mythical equipment. But unfortunately, their luck is really bad. Bai Hu only revealed 1 guaranteed legendary equipment. This little harvest is not enough to consume their props and elixirs. In other words, this trip was in vain. Wei Kai was also stunned for a moment, but after thinking about it, he felt it was normal. After all, the explosion rate in this world is notoriously low. If mythical equipment could be obtained casually, the human world would have counterattacked monsters long ago. How can I still hide in the city and survive? Okay, after all, there is a piece of legendary equipment. If anyone can use it, just take it. The captain quickly stood up to calm everyone's emotions. What is it? Someone asked. I sent the attribute map to the team chat, you can see for yourselves, the captain replied. After a while, voices of disgust rang out from the crowd. Tisk, level 20 garbage. Are the attributes so bad? It's useless, it's of no use at all. I thought no matter how dark the equipment was, it should be level 30 equipment, right? It turned out to be level 20 equipment, amazing. It's absolutely amazing. Everyone complained one after another, and their resentment surged to the sky. Okay, if you don't need it, don't use it. When the captain saw that the situation was not good, he quickly said, then I will take the money back to the city and sell it, and then I will pay everyone hard work. If no one wants the dropped equipment, they can only take it back to the city and sell it for money. Fortunately, the equipment they looked down upon was relatively rare in the city and could be sold for a small price. It's just that there are so many people in the team, and if this amount of money is divided, one person may not be able to get much. After handling the spoils, the captain turned his head and looked at Wei Kai, who was watching the show. Little brother, are you okay? It's okay. Wei Kai quickly waved his hand to express that he was fine. In fact, apart from being frightened by the White Tiger's momentum at the beginning, and being hit by a fierce skill. In other respects, nothing happened to Wei Kai. He didn't even lose any blood due to injuries. That's good. The captain smiled, nodded and said, since there's nothing wrong, let's go level up. That's right. This is one of the White Tiger's refresh points. Be careful in the future and don't come to this kind of place alone. Does the boss have a fixed refresh point? Wei Kai heard his words and asked curiously. That's right. The captain nodded. The White Tiger has 4 fixed refresh points, all of which are deep in the wild boar forest. Your boy doesn't seem to be of a high level, but he is quite courageous. The monsters in the wild boar forest are distributed in a ladder. The outermost monsters have the lowest level. The closer to the depth, the higher the level of the monster, and the greater the probability of refreshing the boss. Wei Kaicheng was only at the 6th level and dared to go so deep. He was indeed very courageous. An ordinary person would probably be besieged by monsters on the way. Haha, there are many monsters here, which are easy to level up. Wei Kai smiled honestly. It's because you are so brave because of your skills. The captain smiled and said, I saw you playing Wild Wolf before. That move was a charge, right? It's quite fast and has good lethality. Excellent. To have such lethality, you must have hit the Wild Boar charge set, right? The captain asked again. Ah, there are indeed a few. Wei Kai nodded. There are many newcomers in our group. If you have any extra, you can sell them to me. The captain said. This equipment can be regarded as a novice-level magical equipment. It can be worn before the first turn. No, Wei Kai shook his head and refused the deal without even thinking about it. He wasn't familiar with the other party, and this place was still in the wilderness. He still understands the principle of keeping wealth secret. Forget it then. The captain smiled, as if Wei Kai's answer was what he expected, so he simply waved his hand, see you later. After saying that, he turned and left. Wei Kai watched the other party leave, and then heard someone ask again. Captain, that guy looks pretty awesome, why don't you recruit him into the group? People look down on us. Look down on us. No. Our tiger fighting group is one of the top 5 groups in Yongning City after all. How can we look down on a newcomer? Who knows, anyway, don't bully the newcomers. The captain quickly warned and then left quickly with the team members. It wasn't until all the members of the tiger fighting group left that Wei Kai breathed a sigh of relief and slowly found a stone to sit down on. Ha, this war group is actually a tiger fighting group. In fact, he had already heard of the reputation of the tiger fighting group. It's just that he doesn't know the members inside, nor has he seen their team. Basically, he only hears their names but doesn't know their people. As one of the top 5 battle groups in Yongning City, the reputation of the tiger fighting group is accumulated by killing various bosses. It can be said that they are a battle group dedicated to encircling and suppressing various bosses. Every member of the group is a leader in each profession. No wonder they can kill the white tiger easily. Thinking of this, Wei Kai couldn't help but sigh. It's just such bad luck. If he had such a battle group, he would be responsible for emptying the boss's health bar every time he fought the boss. Let him deliver the final blow. That picture is simply too beautiful to be imagined. With Wei Kai's own, all-item drop, talent, he can definitely bring out all the pain in the boss. If Wei Kai had killed the white tiger just now, he might have had a tiger whip. What a pity. Ouch. As soon as he finished speaking, a familiar cry suddenly came from behind him. Why are there wild boars here? Wei Kai was stunned for a moment. The monsters in the wild boar forest are distributed in a ladder. Low-level monsters generally only appear on the outermost periphery, while the center area is dominated by high-level monsters. However, the familiar sound of pig noises made Wei Kai stunned for a moment. When he turned around, he realized that the person making the sound was actually a wild boar that was all red and seemed to be on fire. Boar King. Wei Kai's eyes widened instantly, it was another boss. There are many types of monsters in the wild boar forest, and each monster also has a corresponding elite monster and boss monster. Although the wild boar king in front of him is not at the regional boss level, his strength is not bad either. Wei Kai also didn't expect that he was so lucky. I just witnessed the tiger fighting team kill an area boss, and then encountered another boss. Is today the boss's refresh day? Just as he was thinking about it, the red wild boar king had already rushed towards him. Crash. The wild boar king is also a wild boar, and he also knows this talent skill. However, compared to ordinary wild boars, the wild boar king's collision skills are much more powerful. Not only was it more fierce in aura, but it was also covered in flames when it collided, like a demon coming out of hell. You can't do it forcefully. Wei Kai only took half a second to make his decision. So, he also activated his charge skill. However, the direction of his charge happened to be different from that of the wild boar king. The wild boar charged at him, and he charged toward the right. Rumble. The wild boar king is like a runaway train. Wherever it goes, trees fall down and gravel flies. The most terrifying thing is that the ground it walked on left a deep black fire mark, like a scar that cannot be healed. Seeing this scene, Wei Kai couldn't help but take a breath of cold air. As expected of the boss. If you were hit head-on by the opponent, you would have to shed a layer of skin even if you didn't die. Especially those deep black flames, once they touch the body, they may not be extinguished at all. At that time, the damage caused by the flames was enough to kill him. What to do? Do you want to run away? Wei Kai's mind started working quickly. To be honest, when he first saw the Wild Boar King, he was a little happy. After all, this is a boss. If you can kill one, it will definitely cause a huge explosion. Maybe a piece of mythical equipment will be released by then, and it will take off completely. And although the Wild Boar King is a boss, his level is not too high. Ordinary wild boars are at level 3, elite wild boars are at level 6, and the Wild Boar King is only at level 11. In terms of level, it is not as good as an ordinary tiger. Although Wei Kai had never killed a tiger, he could kill 3 wild wolves of a slightly lower level with one charge. Ever since he killed the 3 wild wolves, Wei Kai has been full of confidence in his own strength. I feel that even if I encounter 1 or 2 tigers, I still have enough strength to kill them. But I never expected that the boss and ordinary monsters are not the same species at all. With the strength shown by the Wild Boar King in front of him, ordinary tigers are just a side dish in front of it. Unless you encounter a group of elite tigers, you can't defeat it at all. Forget it, let's retreat. Life is more important than anything else. After weighing it in his mind, Wei Kai decisively chose to give up. With his current level 6 strength, he is no match for this Wild Boar King, let alone kill him. If you accidentally lose it, you will risk your life. Wei Kai is not a person who likes taking risks. After all, you have a future only if you are alive. When you die, there is nothing. After thinking clearly, he immediately turned around and ran away in the same direction that the tiger fighting team had left. The group of people had just left, and their breath still lingered in the air. If the Wild Boar King's senses were sensitive enough, he would definitely not dare to chase after him. Ouch. However, Wei Kai seemed to have overestimated the Wild Boar King's IQ. Or maybe the Wild Boar King was burned out of his brain by the flames on his body. It roared and rushed over again. The hit that hit the air just now seemed to make the Wild Boar King a little angry, so it launched the collision skill again. I'm sorry, this is too fast. Seeing the huge body of the Wild Boar King crashing towards him, Wei Kai was stunned for a moment and then quickly got into the bushes nearby. There is no way to intercept the Wild Boar King's collision. Not having more than 100 points of strength is tantamount to seeking death. After getting into the bushes, Wei Kai originally planned to find a place to hide, but when he saw the surrounding environment clearly, his eyes lit up. It seems, there is a chance. As soon as he finished speaking, there was a sudden sound of falling trees outside. A huge tree trunk was knocked down by the Wild Boar King and fell in the direction of Wei Kai. Wei Kai quickly hid aside. At this moment, the figure of the Wild Boar King appeared in front of him again, and then rushed over. This time, Wei Kai did not hide anymore, but looked at the other party with a smile. You were fooled. The next moment, a ray of light suddenly bounced up from the ground, and then turned into a rope, tightly binding the Wild Boar King. Then there was the sound of collapse on the ground, and a big hole suddenly appeared at the feet of the Wild Boar King. The Wild Boar King lost his balance and fell directly into it. Then there was a scream. The various hidden weapons in the cave directly knocked out 1/10 of its health bar, and at the same time gave the Wild Boar King more than a dozen abnormal conditions. Seeing this scene, Wei Kai laughed very happily. This is a trap to deal with White Tiger. I didn't expect it to be an advantage to you. Just now, the moment he saw these traps, Wei Kai understood their purpose. These traps in front of me are all used by the tiger fighting team to deal with the regional boss White Tiger. But he couldn't use it, so he quickly eliminated the White Tiger. Later, perhaps because of bad luck, the team members were all in a bad mood, so no one came to clean up these traps. In the end, Wei Kai was fulfilled. Seeing the Wild Boar King fall into the trap, Wei Kai was not in a hurry to step forward to hit him, but instead observed for a while. With more than a dozen abnormal conditions on his body, the Wild Boar King kept losing blood and became very weak. The original flame on his body had been completely extinguished and turned into a red-skinned wild boar. However, the ferocity of the Wild Boar King is still there, and even if he falls into a trap, he is still struggling desperately. I even thought about jumping out. Of course Wei Kai couldn't let it succeed. Whenever the Wild Boar King wanted to jump up, he would make up for it with a charge in time and knock the opponent into the hole. Without the blessing of the crash skill, the power of the Wild Boar King is much weaker. With the blessing of the Wild Boar charge suit, Wei Kai is enough to fight against it. After trying this several times, the blood bar on the Wild Boar King became less and less, and soon most of it was gone. The lower the blood volume, the less ferocious the Wild Boar King is. After losing 2/3 of its health, the Wild Boar King no longer dared to jump up. Wei Kai also discovered this and immediately launched a counterattack. While you are sick, I will kill you. The Wild Boar King is in the cave, and there is no way to resist or escape. Wei Kai simply kept slashing with the most powerful charge. A sword, 2 swords, 3 swords. After repeating this for more than a dozen times, the Wild Boar King in the cave finally fell to the ground with an unwilling roar. Success. When Wei Kai saw this scene, he immediately clenched his fists excitedly. Although this time there were some tricks, I still managed to kill the boss alone. Moreover, it is a level 11 boss and may drop level 15 mythical equipment. As the Wild Boar King fell to the ground, his body slowly disappeared, and several rays of light burst out. The most eye-catching thing among them is a golden light. I wonder, there really is a myth. The moment he saw the golden light, Wei Kai jumped up with excitement. Unexpectedly, this Wild Boar King actually exploded with mythical equipment. And in addition to the mythical equipment, there are several pink rays of light and dozens of blue and white rays of light. In this explosion, at least 50 or 60 items were released. After the excitement, Wei Kai quickly jumped into the hole and swept away all the dropped items. Then with excitement, I began to check the equipment in my backpack. Meng Wai's Fang Myth Short Blade. Level 15. Physical attack power 150 to 250. Strength plus 50. Agility plus 50. Attack speed plus 10%. After equipping it, you will receive the Blessing of Myth, and all team members will increase their attributes by 10 points. After equipping it, you will get the skill, Soul of Meng Wai. After casting it, you can summon a Meng Wai to help in the battle. The summoned object has the same level as itself, and its attributes are affected by its own attributes. When attacking, there is a chance to cast Meng Wai's Flame to continuously burn the enemy. When casting the charge skill, Meng Wai's Flame will wrap around the body, causing continuous damage to enemies it touches. It is indeed a mythical equipment. After reading the attributes of Meng Wai's Tooth, Wei Kai couldn't help but sigh. Just level 15 equipment can increase attributes by 100 points. Compared with legendary equipment, it is like heaven and earth. More importantly, this mythical equipment also has 4 entries. Mythic Blessing is a must-have entry in mythical equipment, and it doesn't seem to add many attributes. But the attributes of this entry are related to the equipment of the wearer. The more mythical equipment you have on your body, the stronger this blessing will be. If you can get a complete set of mythical equipment, the strength of this entry will be unmatched. The second entry, Meng Wai's Soul, is a summoning skill. For a lone wolf like Wei Kai, it is a relatively practical skill. Let's not talk about the strength of the summoned Meng Wai. At least it can help him attract the attention of monsters, or it can be used to eliminate mobs. Anyway, the effect will definitely not be low. The last 2 entries are both related to Meng Wai's Flame. Seeing this name, Wei Kai suddenly thought of the flames coming out of the Wild Boar King. That thing is Meng Wai's Flame, right? After equipping this mythical short blade, you can release flames when attacking, continuously burning the enemy. If you encounter another boss in the future, even if you can't beat him head-on, you can rely on Meng Wai's Flame to slowly burn the opponent to death. This is definitely a very practical skill. The last entry is linked to the charge skill. When charging, it will wrap itself in Meng Wai's Flame, which can not only resist attacks, but also continue to burn the enemy. Thinking of the posture of the Wild Boar King when he launched the collision, Wei Kai became excited again. From now on, his charging skills will be more than just a dump truck. But a dump truck with flames. If I can't injure you to death, I can still burn you to death. With the blessing of legendary suits and mythical weapons, the charge skill has been renamed Invincible. After reading the attributes of the mythical equipment, Wei Kai's eyes were filled with stars. It's a pity that his current level is not enough and he can't wear it at all. There's still level 9. I'm afraid it will take several days to complete. After saying that, Wei Kai once again turned his attention to his backpack. In addition to mythical equipment, the Wild Boar King also dropped several pink items, including equipment and materials. One of them turned out to be an extremely rare piece of jewelry. Meng Wai's Power of Destruction Legendary Ring. Level 15. Strength plus 20. Agility plus 20. Magic plus 20. Spirit plus 20. Constitution plus 20. Power of Destruction. After equipped, attack speed plus 5%, and additional 10% power damage when attacking. In terms of attributes, this ring is quite satisfactory, with only 20 points of full attributes. But the entry attached to it made Wei Kai's eyes light up. Attack with extra power damage. Doesn't this mean that the higher my power, the higher the collateral damage? If this thing is given to a full power warrior, it will definitely be upgraded to a level, no less than an epic piece of equipment. Excellent. Wei Kai quickly came to a conclusion and couldn't help laughing. One boss, 2 top-notch pieces of equipment. How would they feel if the previous Tiger fighting team found out? Thinking of the opponent's explosion rate after killing the White Tiger, he smiled unkindly. The gap between people is indeed wider than that of dogs sometimes. In addition to this ring, there is also a 9 turns of large intestine recipe book. Wei Kai has already sold out several copies of this thing, and it is basically no longer needed. But you can also take it back and ask Tian Xiaoling to help sell it. According to the other party, you can sell at least 3 million gold coins per copy. It's also earned with blood. After reading the recipe, Wei Kai continued to look at the next item, and then his expression suddenly froze. Skill book. A skill book called Charge was lying in his backpack. I was thinking about whether I should learn it before, but I didn't expect the boss to show up right away. Wei Kai couldn't help but smile, but he was not in a hurry to learn. After all, when the level is low, skill points are really in short supply. You will not learn the charge skill until at least one turn later, when you need to change the Wild Boar charge set on your body. However, the boss directly revealed the skill book, which saved him a lot of effort. When you want to learn in the future, you can learn directly. After the skill book, the remaining 2 pieces of pink light are materials. One is Meng Wai's skin, which can be used to make armor. One is called blood locust grass, which is a rare medicinal material. Wei Kai didn't have any use for either of these things at the moment, so he didn't bother to study them carefully. Except for these few pink lights, everything else is ordinary. The only thing worth noting is a special item. Elixir powder. What does this thing have to do with the elixir fragments? Wei Kai looked puzzled. Chapter 31. While studying, Wei Kai suddenly noticed that the spiritual fragments in his backpack lit up. Does this thing work? He was stunned for a moment, then picked up the elixir powder and placed it on top of the crumbs of the elixir. The next moment, the two overlapped and the fusion was completed instantly. It's done. A brand new elixir appeared in the backpack. At the same time, there are corresponding instructions. A powerful elixir. After taking it, you can get 1 skill point. Take up to 3 times per person. Really? Seeing this explanation, Wei Kai immediately thought of what Tian Xiaoling said to him. It was exactly the same as what Tian Xiaoling said. 1 elixir can add 1 skill point, and you can only take up to 3 pills at the same time. For any profession, skill points are quite precious. No one would dislike having too many skills. Wei Kai is no exception. After reading the description, he took it out without hesitation and swallowed it in one gulp. After a while, a prompt was given on the data panel: take the elixir and get 1 skill point. In addition to the initial skill point, you can only get 1 skill point every 5 levels. At the initial point, Wei Kai used it to learn the bonfire skill. The skill points gained by upgrading to level 5 have not been used yet. Now that I have gained a little more, I feel suddenly richer. This way, after we go back, we can learn 2 skills at once. Wei Kai clenched his fists excitedly. However, it is time to go back and learn skills to improve combat effectiveness. Or should I kill monsters first and go back after dark? He hesitated for a moment and looked at the time on his phone again. At this moment, there was a sudden vibration on the phone, and then the phone rang. Sister Ling. Seeing the name on the caller ID, Wei Kai was stunned for a moment, but quickly pressed the answer button. Hey, Sister Ling, what's the matter with? Are you free? On the other end of the phone, Tian Xiaoling's tone was quite excited. Ah, I'm still out there farming monsters and leveling up, Wei Kai said truthfully. What's going on? Our store has been opened, Tian Xiaoling said loudly. The sales are booming now. Several cookbooks were sold out as soon as they were released. Ah, so fast. Wei Kai was a little surprised. He didn't expect that the other party would take care of the store in just one day. The store has even opened for business. This speed can only be said to be professional. Yes, Tian Xiaoling said excitedly. The inventory here is about to be sold out. If you still have some new goodies, come back quickly to restock. By the way, let me tell you some good news secretly. What? Ah, no, I'll tell you in person when you come back. Quote. Wei Kai was speechless for a while. How could he be so mysterious? He looked at the items in his backpack and found that he had accumulated a lot and could indeed go back to restock. Then, I'll go back now. Come back soon, I'll wait for you at the door of the market. After Tian Xiaoling finished speaking, she hung up the phone. Putting away his phone, Wei Kai looked up at the sky again. Forget it, that's it for today. The purpose of leaving the city today was to brush up on equipment. He didn't kill many ordinary monsters, but he killed a lot of elite monsters and bosses, and he was very satisfied with the equipment he dropped. This trip has already been full of rewards. After returning, hand the goods in the backpack to Tian Xiaoling. In the remaining time, you can go to Wu Yi and Li Changolin and give them the recipes and jewelry making skills books. Well, let's go back then. As soon as he left, Wei Kai quickly left the wild boar forest and got on the bus back to the city. Half an hour later, the car arrived at Xixiang Market Station. As soon as Wei drove the car, he saw Tian Xiaoling's figure in the crowd. Perhaps to welcome the opening of the store, Tian Xiaoling was dressed very beautifully today. Wearing a Chinese-style blue and white porcelain cheongsam, paired with a slim and tall figure, as well as shiny black silk and high-heeled shoes, the sight of her will make people's blood rush. Wei Kai couldn't help but take a few more glances. At this moment, Tian Xiaoling also noticed him and waved quickly. Hey, Xiaokai. Coming. Wei Kai responded quickly and then hurried forward to greet him. Come on, I'll take you to the store. Tian Xiaoling held his hand as soon as she came up, as if she was afraid that he would break away, so she held her hand quite hard. At this moment, Wei Kai suddenly felt his hand being clamped hard by a soft ball, and his face suddenly turned red. Sister Ling, there's no need for such a big battle, right? I came here specially to welcome you. Tian Xiaoling smiled, changed her previous aloof style, and said mischievously, you are the major shareholder of our store. I'm just a part-time worker. Wei Kai said with a wry smile. From now on, you are no longer. Tian Xiaoling suddenly came over, looked at his face and asked, do you know how much money the store has made? How many? Tell you quietly. Tian Xiaoling lowered her voice, and the sweet and soft air floated over softly. 7 million. Ah, Wei Kai was a little confused at first, but when he heard the number, 7 million, he suddenly sobered up. No way, can it be sold for so much money? Why not? Tian Xiaoling blinked her eyes and said with a smile, let me tell you another good news. The book 9 Turns of Large Intestine sold for 5 million. Ah, this. Wei Kai was stunned for a moment. I never expected that a legendary cookbook could sell for so much money. Is this too exaggerated? At this moment, he couldn't help but think of Wu Yi's father, Uncle Peng. Uncle Peng worked hard for half his life and finally saved 400,000 gold coins. He gritted his teeth and bought an ordinary, spicy rabbit meat recipe. However, the price of a legendary cookbook was more than 10 times his life savings. In other words, if you want to buy this cookbook, Uncle Peng will have to save money for at least 10 lifetimes. The difference between people. Wei Kai couldn't help but sigh. What's wrong? Are you unhappy? Tian Xiaoling, who was beside him, noticed his psychological change and quickly asked, do you think it's cheap? In fact, the price is already very high. If someone hadn't been in a hurry to buy, they wouldn't have offered such a high price. No, I'm just feeling a little emotional. Wei Kai quickly explained, then shook his head and said with a smile, I didn't expect that a cookbook I picked up at random could be sold for such a high price. This cookbook is enough to make me rich and free. Financial freedom. Tian Xiaoling was suddenly stunned for a moment, then smiled and said, this is not the only thing you pursue, is it? In this era when games have come to reality and everyone changes jobs to fight against monsters, wealth and freedom have no meaning. Because no one can lie flat. Lying down means giving up the fight and passing on the pressure of survival to others. As a combat professional, there is only one meaning of life, fighting. Of course not. Wei Kai shook his head firmly. In the previous life, wealth and freedom may have been the greatest pursuit in life. But in this world, financial freedom does not guarantee you a lifetime of worry-free life, or even absolute security. Because there are countless monsters and beasts in the wild, always waiting to attack human cities. Over the years, human cities have been strengthening their city defenses and finding ways to protect their hard-won base areas. But the invasion of monsters has never stopped. In this era, everyone is facing the threat of death, and no one is qualified to lie down. Even the farmers and workers at the lowest level must contribute their labor force to build the city where they live. As a combat professional, your responsibilities are of course even more important. Then what is your pursuit? Tian Xiaoling turned her face sideways and asked him curiously. My pursuit. Wei Kai was silent for a moment and said, I hope to get more equipment and skill books so that everyone will no longer have to worry about these things. I hope I can become stronger and explore more wild areas. I hope to understand the origin of those monsters in the wild, and preferably drive them out of our world completely, and restore the world to what it was before. Everyone can live a safe and peaceful life. Quote. After hearing what he said, Tian Xiaoling fell silent immediately. She had no idea that the young soldier in front of her who had just graduated and was only at level 6, could actually say such a thing. These words can be distilled into 5 words, fight for humanity. How? Why? Does Sister Ling think it's impossible? Seeing the other party's silence, Wei Kai smiled easily, breaking the slightly dull atmosphere. I believe you, Tian Xiaoling suddenly said seriously. Ah, then thank you, Sister Ling. Wei Kai was stunned for a moment, then smiled shyly. While they were joking, the two of them had already arrived in front of a shop, which was crowded with people. A large number of people surrounded the door of the shop. Countless people want to squeeze in and take a closer look, as if there is some treasure inside. This is our store. Tian Xiaoling finally let go of his hand, then pointed at the shop and said, look, they are all people who want to buy goods. So popular. Wei Kai was quite surprised. He didn't expect that so many people would come to shop just after the store opened today. Of course, because our products are cheap. Tian Xiaoling said with a faint smile, and there are many good things in our store, such as those recipes. That's right. After seeing a cookbook sell for 400,000 gold coins with his own eyes, Wei Kai already had a sufficient understanding of the rarity of cookbooks. The cookbook here only sells for 200,000 yuan. As long as they are not fools, they will swarm in and snatch away everything else. The items in the store are almost sold out. Come on, let's go restock. Tian Xiaoling said, taking Wei Kai to the back of the shop and entering the store through the back door. At this time, the situation in the store was more lively than he expected. Countless people are waiting for good news. Just 10 minutes ago, Tian Xiaoling, the person in charge of the store, just announced that the store would be replenished. Those who want to buy can wait here. As soon as these words came out, countless people immediately flocked to the store, filling the entire store. Seeing that there were so many people in the store, Wei Kai suddenly frowned. Sister Ling, how about I give you my backpack? There are too many people here, and Wei Kai doesn't want to show up, let alone expose himself. Okay, then give it to me. Tian Xiaoling nodded, then took Wei Kai's backpack and gave him another backpack with her backhand. Take this. After Wei Kai took the new backpack, he took a curious look, and then he was stunned. Inside, there are more than 7 million gold coins. All the profits from the store are here. He also didn't expect that Tian Xiaoling casually gave him a backpack, which actually contained a huge sum of money. This is all the income since the store opened. Tian Xiaoling also had 20% of the shares, so she took it and handed it over to him. You're not afraid that I'll take the money and abscond? PFF'd. After saying this, Wei Kai himself laughed. All the goods in the store were provided by him, and 80% of the huge sum of money was also his. Even if he took all the money away, it wouldn't be considered absconding. What's more, he wouldn't do that. Tian Xiaoling trusted him so much, how could he betray her trust? However, this is indeed a huge sum of money. You have to think about how to spend it. If you have money in your hand, if you don't spend it, it means you don't have it. What's more, what Wei Kai needs most now is not money, but to improve his combat effectiveness. For him, only by improving his combat effectiveness as soon as possible can he realize the talent of all items dropping. Although you can get good things by brushing mobs, the benefits are still far behind compared to bosses. The benefits from killing 10,000 mobs are not as good as the mythical equipment from killing one boss. After waiting for nearly 10 minutes, Tian Xiaoling finally got the goods in the store, and then walked out a little tired. Thank you for your hard work, Sister Ling. Wei Kai saw this and quickly comforted him. No, why is it so hard? Tian Xiaoling immediately cheered up and said with a chuckle, it will be more difficult for you to kill monsters in the wild. By the way, I just found a lot of good things in my backpack. Tell me, have you met a boss? Hey, how do you know? Wei Kai said doubtfully. Of course I know, Tian Xiaoling said proudly. You are only level 6, but you actually have level 15 equipment in your backpack. How could you possibly explode if you are not a boss? Well, I did meet a wild boar king. Wei Kai confessed honestly. Then what? Tian Xiaoling was intrigued by the boss and asked curiously, have you exploded the equipment? I heard that the boss in the wild can at worst explode a piece of legendary equipment. What is it? It exploded. Wei Kai hesitated for a moment and finally nodded. Then, he directly showed off the Mengwai's power of destruction ring. Seeing the properties of the ring, Tian Xiaoling's eyes suddenly lit up. Excellent equipment. Although the attributes added by the ring are not high, the included entries are really great. Additional damage is equivalent to 1 more attack frequency. If combined with some special effects equipment, the effect of 1 + 1 greater than 2 can be achieved. If matched well, this ring is no less than an epic piece of equipment. It's a pity that you need to be at level 15 to bring it with you. Tian Xiaoling sighed. Yes, Wei Kai nodded and said, so, Sister Ling, is there any way to quickly increase combat effectiveness? Tian Xiaoling's answer was decisive and straightforward. Depends on which one you want to use. What ones are there? Wei Kai asked curiously. Actually, the best way to improve combat effectiveness is to upgrade your level. Tian Xiaoling said eloquently. Your current level is too low, so I suggest you find a power leveler and have someone take you to level up monsters. It's much faster than killing monsters yourself. Wei Kai scratched his head and asked someone to help him level up. It was indeed a way to quickly improve his level. But in this case, he would not be able to kill monsters and obtain equipment. The store has just opened now, and all the goods must be provided by him. If he can't farm equipment, won't the store be closed soon? If power training doesn't work, there is another way. Tian Xiaoling saw his dilemma and suggested, there are many alchemy items in my trading house that can also improve combat effectiveness. Alchemy items. Wei Kai's eyes suddenly lit up. Among alchemy items, the most common ones are naturally various bombs and traps. The trap that trapped the wild boar king before was a high-level alchemy item specially used for hunting. If you can get these things, you can indeed greatly improve your combat effectiveness, and they are specifically targeted at bosses. This works. After some thought, Wei Kai agreed on the spot. Then, I will take you to buy it later. Tian Xiaoling smiled and continued. Also, you are already at level 6 now. If you are not short of money, you can go get a level 5 legendary weapon. Okay, Wei Kai nodded without hesitation. Although he has a piece of mythical equipment in his hand, he needs level 15 to equip it. During this period of time, you have to rely on other equipment to increase your combat effectiveness. The last step is to learn skills. Tian Xiaoling continued. You probably haven't had time to learn new skills yet, right? Yes, that's right. Tian Xiaoling smiled and said, if you want to kill monsters faster, you have to learn a few useful skills. In addition, if you have determined your future career change route, you can also add some skills now. Quote, each time you level up, you will get 5 free attribute points. If you leave it without adding it, it would be a waste. If you have determined your future career change route, it is best to add all the free points, which can also increase your combat effectiveness a lot. Ah, thanks for reminding me. Wei Kai scratched his head, opened his panel on the spot, and added all free attributes to strength. For ordinary people, the consequences of adding the wrong point are serious. But for Wei Kai, it was just a small price to pay. Money is not an issue. What's more, the strength attribute is exactly what he needs most. Whether it is mythical equipment or the legendary ring, they are all related to power. Of course, the higher the better. Also, you can also find an auxiliary professional guild and spend money to buy some long-term buffs, which can also increase a small amount of combat effectiveness. Tian Xiaoling continued to give ideas. Ah, is this okay? Wei Kai was a little surprised. Sure, Tian Xiaoling explained. Not all buffs are short-term, there are also buffs that last for several hours or even several days. However, these buffs are very expensive and most people cannot afford them or use them. No problem, I'll buy it later. Wei Kai nodded again. In addition, the Pharmacist Association has elixirs that temporarily increase combat effectiveness, the Taoist Temple has spells, the Assassin's Guild has hidden weapons, and the Clever Door has trap puppets. Quote. Listening to Tian Xiaoling's eloquent story, Wei Kai was dumbfounded. He also didn't expect that there were so many things in the world that could improve combat effectiveness. Listening to your words is worth 10 years of reading. It's really an eye-opener. How about it, have you decided which ones to choose? Tian Xiaoling said more than a dozen things in one go, her mouth felt dry and she licked her lips unconsciously. Wei Kai was stunned for a moment, then nodded. I've thought about it, I just want something that can defeat the boss. His goal is very clear, which is to defeat the boss and explode equipment. As for ordinary mobs, no other means are needed at all, a set of wild boar charge suits is enough. When a dump truck hits, who can stop it? Okay, then come with me. Tian Xiaoling waved and took him out of the store. 10 minutes later, the two came to Tian Xiaoling's trading house. After saying hello to the person in charge of the lobby, Tian Xiaoling took Wei Kai directly to the second floor. As a result, after going up, I discovered that there was someone on the second floor. A slightly bald middle-aged man wearing a tang suit frowned immediately after seeing the two of them. Xiaoling, what did you do? I didn't see any distinguished guests on the second floor. Uncle Third, I'm here to bring a distinguished guest to buy something. Tian Xiaoling replied angrily. What distinguished guest? The middle-aged man known as Third Uncle glanced at Wei Kai with a hint of disdain in his eyes. You're a brat, but you still have the nerve to call yourself a distinguished guest. When Tian Xiaoling was told this, she suddenly became a little angry. You. Uncle Third, the purpose of this store is to put customers first, please respect my customers. What are your customers? Third Uncle said disdainfully. You are not the salesperson in the store. Your customers should be next door. You. Tian Xiaoling suddenly lost her temper. Although this store belongs to her family, several uncles and uncles in her family have a share in it. The other person was of a higher seniority than her, and his words were sarcastic and mean, and all of what he said was true. She is indeed not an employee of this store. According to the rules, she is not qualified to take customers to the second floor. Tian Xiaoling had no way to refute. Then let's go. Wei Kai suddenly said loudly, I think the neighbor next door should be very interested in this mythical equipment. Mythical equipment. As soon as the words were spoken, someone upstairs screamed, and then a young man rushed out. After a while, another old man appeared. Do you have mythical equipment? The young man stared directly at Wei Kai, as if he wanted to rob him. The old man who appeared later also looked at Wei Kai with interest, as if waiting for his answer. Wei Kai smiled, nodded and said, "There is indeed one piece. I originally wanted to sell it here, but it's a pity that they don't want it. Then, I want." Before he finished speaking, the young man shouted first, "Make a price." As soon as these words came out, the third uncle's face turned ugly. The old man and the young man were originally in the store to buy equipment. This kind of rich man who is not short of money has always been the main target of the store. Once the deal is concluded, he can earn at least several million. As a result, he was now being stabbed by an unknown boy. If they were allowed to negotiate directly, wouldn't it be equivalent to losing 2 orders in vain? You don't even know what mythical equipment is, and you want to buy it. Wei Kai was stunned for a moment, then spoke. "It doesn't matter." Before he finished speaking, the young man interrupted him and said boldly, "As long as it is mythical equipment, I want it." Wei Kai was speechless. He didn't expect the other party to be so arrogant. This tone is very much like that of some prodigal son of an oil man. Then, Sister Ling. Wei Kai was about to speak when he suddenly remembered that he didn't seem to know the market price of mythical equipment, so he quickly touched Tian Xiaoling's shoulder. Ah! Tian Xiaoling suddenly woke up as if she had just woken up from a dream. "How much do you think it should be sold for?" Wei Kai asked in a low voice. I haven't seen mythical equipment either." Tian Xiaoling didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Although she had worked at the official trading house next door for 3 years, she had never seen the sale of mythical equipment. Because it is impossible for anyone to sell this thing. Anyone who can break out of the mythical costume is basically a battle group that specializes in boss hunting. The war group has the channel of the war group, so there is no need to come to the trading house to do business. The most important thing is that mythical equipment has always been priceless. Even if someone who owns mythical equipment wants to sell it, they usually don't choose to sell it for money, but barter. Use mythical equipment to exchange mythical equipment with others for mythical equipment, or other scarce resources. Wei Kai didn't expect that Sister Ling, who had always been well informed, would sometimes be ignorant. At this moment, the other party seemed to notice the dilemma of the two of them and said directly, "How about 30 million? 30 million. Wei Kai's eyes suddenly widened. He was already very shocked when he saw 7 million gold coins before. Unexpectedly, the other party asked for 30 million as soon as he asked. This is almost equal to the money Uncle Peng has earned in dozens of lifetimes. The most terrifying thing is that this is the price quoted by the other party without knowing the properties of the mythical equipment. If the mythical equipment in Wei Kai's hand was not very good, the other party would have spent 30 million to buy a useless piece of equipment. Tian Xiaoling was also quite surprised when she heard this number. But she quickly calmed down and quietly poked Wei Kai's waist with her finger. "You can let him take a look at the properties of the equipment," she reminded in a low voice. "Why?" Wei Kai asked quietly. "Observe his reaction," Tian Xiaoling said calmly. Wei Kai finally understood this. Tian Xiaoling thinks that the price of 30 million is quite enough, but there is still room for improvement. If the attributes of mythical equipment are very good and the opponent likes them, then you can continue to increase the price. How about taking a look at the properties of the equipment first? Wei Kai suddenly said, "I'm afraid you will regret it later." The young man was slightly startled. However, the old man beside him seemed to see something and nodded. "That's okay, then let's show it and have a look." "Good," Wei Kai said, directly showing the Mengwai's teeth in his backpack. The moment he saw this mythical equipment, the young man's face suddenly became excited. Okay, it's just in line with my profession. Increased strength and agility, increased attack speed, and special attack effects. You can summon boss souls to resist monsters. It's perfect. I want it." Meng Wai's Fang is a short blade that can be equipped by both warriors and assassins. It also increases attack speed and comes with special attack effects. As long as it is a melee agility profession, it can be used. Almost perfectly adapted to many mainstream professions. The young man's profession is obviously very suitable for this piece of equipment. Once he sees its attributes, he can no longer take his eyes away. 20 million more. At this moment, Tian Xiaoling suddenly spoke loudly. Good. The young man did not hesitate at all, but said with a smile, I will give you another 10% commission. Ah, Tian Xiaoling was immediately frightened by the other party's generosity. I originally wanted to take advantage of what the other party wanted and give me a huge sum of money. I didn't expect the other party to be so generous. Not only was there no counteroffer, but she was given an extra agency fee. Is this an expression of gratitude? Xiao Kai, what do you think? Tian Xiaoling poked Wei Kai's waist again. Well, deal. It only took Wei Kai less than a second to make a decision, sell. His current level is not enough. Even if he has mythical equipment, he can only look at it but not use it. It's better to just sell it for money. What's more, it's not like he can't brush it anymore. With the powerful talent of all items dropped, as long as you kill another wild boar king, you can immediately get the second item. For Wei Kai, mythical equipment is not scarce at all. As long as he wants it, he can get it in minutes. What he needs now is money. If you have money, you can do more things. You don't think my price is cheap, do you? As soon as he finished speaking, Tian Xiaoling asked in a low voice with a guilty conscience. How could it be? Wei Kai smiled slightly and said, I have to thank Sister Ling for helping me bid. If he were allowed to do it, Going Long would only call for a price increase of 10 million. Unexpectedly, Tian Xiaoling was much more ruthless than him. As expected of someone who has studied next door for 3 years, he still has a very vicious eye. How to trade? The young man saw them chatting there, and asked impatiently, transfer, swipe card, or cash? If it's cash, I'll go back and get the money. Transfer the money, Wei Kai said, turned on his phone and showed his payment code. Good. Without saying a word, the young man immediately scanned the code with his mobile phone, and then transferred 50 million yuan to Wei Kai on the spot. Seeing the transfer text message from the bank, Wei Kai felt dizzy. Unexpectedly, he became a multi-millionaire in a blink of an eye. You must know that 3 days ago, there was no job transfer. He was just an ordinary high school student. He didn't expect that his fate would change so quickly. This beauty, please give me your payment code. At this moment, the young man said something again. Tian Xiaoling was stunned at first, and then she remembered that the other party seemed to want to pay her an agency fee. 10% of 50 million is 5 million. Just by saying a few words, I made 5 million. It's like a dream. A moment later, the young man who had paid the agency fee looked at Wei Kai eagerly. It seems to be waiting for something. Only then did Wei Kai react, and quickly took out the Meng Wise Fang from his backpack and then handed it to the other party. Pay the money with one hand and deliver the goods with the other hand. The deal is now complete. After getting Meng Wise Tooth, the young man immediately equipped it with joy. A short blade with red flames suddenly appeared in the young man's hand. Okay, it is indeed a mythical equipment, it is so worth it. Thank you both, and Uncle Tian. As soon as these words came out, the third uncle's face turned the color of pig liver on the spot. Seeing his niece taking away 5 million in agency fees in vain, the third uncle had long been heartbroken. As a result, before he could recover, he was thanked by the young man in person again. As soon as these words came out, he was so angry that he almost vomited blood and couldn't help but speak. Master Liang, according to the rules of the store, private sales are not allowed. Oh, that's right. Mr. Liang smiled and asked, what then? Quote. Yes, what then? So what if it's not allowed? What can you do? The third uncle was immediately off guard by the other party's question. The other party is the son of the richest family in Yongning City. Even if the head of the Tian family meets him, he must respectfully call him Mr. Liang. He is a marginalized figure in the Tian family, how can he be offended? The so-called rules in the store can only be effective on those who have no strength. For powerful people, even if they break the rules in person, what can you do? The third uncle suddenly felt angina pectoris. He took several deep breaths before finally regaining his composure. But at this moment, Wei Kai also stood up. Brother Fu, I have another piece of equipment here. I wonder if you are interested. Oh, come and take a look. Mr. Liang suddenly became interested. The old man behind Mr. Liang couldn't help but glance at Wei Kai. This young man looks young, but he still has a lot of good things. You don't want to sell that one too, do you? At this moment, Tian Xiaoling quietly poked Wei Kai again. All the mythical equipment has been sold, why do you still keep the ring? Wei Kai replied with a smile, and then immediately showed off the Mengwai's Power of Destruction ring. Seeing that it was legendary equipment, Mr. Liang was slightly disappointed at first, but when his eyes saw the last entry, his eyes immediately lit up. Nice one. The old man behind young Master Liang clapped his hands loudly. It's really good stuff. Mr. Liang also nodded. Although it is not suitable for my profession, it can be regarded as the best among legendary equipment as it can have an attack frequency. One price, 10 million. Since it is a good thing, Mr. Liang will naturally not be stingy. For a price of 10 million, you can already buy higher-end epic equipment on the market. This price can be said to be full of sincerity. Wei Kai nodded with satisfaction and said, then, Sister Ling's agency fee. 1%, as usual. It's, oh. Before Wei Kai finished speaking, he suddenly pretended to suddenly realize, just now, third uncle said that private transactions are not allowed. This will be difficult. I didn't understand the rules before, so my third uncle was magnanimous and didn't pursue the matter any further. But now that I know it, I'm afraid it wouldn't be good to break the rules again, right? Quote. This part of the tea smells like tea, and the weird words come out of my mouth. Everyone immediately understood and looked at the third uncle on the side. At this moment, the third uncle wanted to eat Wei Kai in one bite. I obviously swallowed my anger and pretended that nothing happened, but you still haven't let me go. I have no enmity with you, why? Why do you have to slap me in the face in front of everyone? At first, Mr. Liang didn't know what Wei Kai was going to do. But when his eyes saw Tian Xiaoling beside Wei Kai, everything suddenly became clear. At this moment, Tian Xiaoling was extremely happy to see that her third uncle, who had just taught her a lesson, was defeated. In the family, the third uncle is a pure waste, but relying on his seniority, he often bosses around the younger generations like them. The most annoying thing is that there is nothing she can do. When the two of them went upstairs just now, they were taught by the third uncle, who also scolded Wei Kai. It only took 10 minutes for Wei Kai to call back. A slap in the face really relieves the anger. Since we can't trade here, let's go outside. The old man behind Mr. Liang said, the rules are the rules, and we can't mess around. My uncle said yes. Mr. Liang nodded repeatedly. Mr. Liang. The third uncle wanted to say something more, but the latter immediately raised his hand to interrupt him. No need to say more, let's just go out. After speaking, Liang Gong took the lead to go downstairs. Mr. Liang also followed behind. Wei Kai and Tian Xiaoling glanced at the third uncle's face, and then left talking and laughing. Bang! As soon as the two of them reached the stairs, they heard the sound of breaking the coffee table from behind. Wei Kai and Tian Xiaoling looked at each other and smiled even more happily. After leaving the door of the trading house, Tian Xiaoling spoke first before the other party could speak. Two distinguished guests, we also have a shop in the market, why not go there? No need. Liang Gong waved his hand and said calmly, hurry up and trade. We will go back after buying. He had already helped a lot in the trading house just now, so he couldn't keep helping. Besides, it was just a piece of equipment, so it wasn't worth his special trip. When the proposal was rejected, Tian Xiaoling looked a little embarrassed. But at this moment, Wei Kai stood up again, okay, let's trade here. However, if you still want to buy mythical equipment in the future, you can come to me in the store. What? As soon as these words came out, Mr. Liang and Mr. Liang looked at him in surprise at the same time. Do you still have mythical equipment? Mr. Liang asked in disbelief. Not now. Wei Kai smiled and said, but that doesn't mean there won't be. If you can't find me, you can also go to the store to find Sister Ling. After saying that, he patted Tian Xiaoling on the shoulder. He smiled and said, we are partners. Okay, very good. Liang Gong nodded his head in appreciation. After saying that, he fumbled in his coat pocket and took out something. This is my business card. If you want to buy mythical equipment in the future, you can contact me. No problem. Wei Kai answered very simply and took the pure black business card casually. The business card is very clean, with only the name, Liang Sansi, and a phone number. Wei Kai didn't recognize this name. But after Tian Xiaoling saw it, the corners of her eyes couldn't help but beat wildly several times. After accepting the business card, both parties completed the ring transaction as quickly as possible. Then Liang Sansi and Mr. Liang got into an extended labor car and left the Xixiang market. After seeing the two of them off, Wei Kai breathed a sigh of relief. But before he could speak, he heard Tian Xiaoling ask quietly, "Xiao Kai, why did you sell those 2 pieces of equipment just now?" "Of course it's for Sister Ling," Wei Kai replied without hesitation. "You," Tian Xiaoling suddenly panicked. "Ha ha ha, I'm just teasing you." Wei Kai laughed when he saw this. "I just need money. Didn't I say before that if we want to quickly improve our combat effectiveness, of course we need a lot of money?" As soon as this explanation came out, Tian Xiaoling immediately rolled her eyes and became angry. "So now that you have money, don't you need me anymore?" "How could it be?" Wei Kai laughed and explained. "This money is just a windfall, and it will be spent sooner or later. Sister Ling is the source of living water, and can make a steady stream of small money." Go, what is the source of living water?" Tian Xiaoling rolled her eyes at him angrily and said seriously, "It's good if you can realize this. Even if you get mythical equipment in the future, you can't sell it. Then why keep it? Keep it and exchange it for something." Tian Xiaoling explained. "As long as you can use it, give priority to equip yourself. If you can't use it, keep it and exchange it with others for those that are useful." "Oh, thank you Sister Ling for reminding me." Wei Kai nodded and accepted the instruction. "Oh, right." After talking about the business, Tian Xiaoling remembered something again. "I promised to buy you a new weapon." "It doesn't matter, you can go next door," Wei Kai responded. The two of them had agreed before that they would go to the Tian family's trading house to buy a level 5 legendary weapon. As a result, no one expected that they would meet third uncle, Liang Gong and others, and a series of things happened. Now both of them are outside the door, and the angry third uncle is in the trading house again. "Since you can't go back, you can go to the official trading shop next door. It just so happens that you are the salesperson there and you can still get commission," Wei Kai said again with a smile. "Ah," Tian Xiaoling was stunned at first, then smiled sweetly and said, "Okay, I will use the commission just now to buy you a new weapon." Well, hearing this, Wei Kai was stunned. What's going on? She was obviously allowed to get the commission for free, so why did the other party pay her instead? "You can't say no." Seeing Wei Kai's confused look, Tian Xiaoling immediately straightened her face and said something fierce. "All right." Wei Kai spread his hands and agreed with a smile. After a while, the two came to the official trading house. Tian Xiaoling was already familiar with this place, and she quickly brought Wei Kai to the Tianzihao counter. Then, she opened the computer on the counter and personally selected the best warrior weapon for Wei Kai. She didn't even blink when she swiped her card. A few minutes later, the new weapon was delivered to Wei Kai's hands. Until this moment, he didn't know the price of this new weapon. But after taking a look at the properties of the new weapon, he understood most of it. This thing definitely won't be cheap. Roaring Greatsword, Legendary Greatsword. Level 5. Physical attack power 50 to 80. Strength plus 20. Armor break plus 15. When activating charge, there is a chance to activate Trembling Roar, making the opponent tremble and unable to move. The attributes of this giant sword are just average, but the entries it comes with are really too powerful. Trembling Roar is almost equal to Sword Immortal's body holding technique and Dao Zong's body holding talisman. Once hit, they can only stand still and bear the warrior's charge. This single entry can change the warrior's charge skill from a displacement skill to a control skill. The most terrifying thing is that once hit by a charge, if the strength is too low, it may be knocked away and then seriously injured. This is more than just a control skill. It's a series of combos, the kind that can kill you. This entry alone is at least worth 3 million. Wei Kai silently estimated the price in his heart. It seems that Sister Ling is interested. After buying weapons, Wei Kai bought a large number of alchemy items in the store. Mainly traps and the like. This is a powerful tool for killing bosses alone, specifically for bosses. Because he was not short of money, Wei Kai deliberately chose the best one and spent nearly 1 million in one go. After buying these, the two of them left the trading house. Let's go to the Warriors Guild to learn skills. Tian Xiaoling smiled and accompanied Wei Kai to the Warriors Guild to learn new skills. Wei Kai had already thought about what skills he wanted to learn. As soon as I entered the guild, I immediately selected 2 skill books, namely, Provoke and Whirlwind. The function of provocation is actually very similar to taunting, which is used to attract the hatred of monsters. But the difference is that taunting has a specific target and can steadily attract hatred and maintain attraction to monsters. The provocation has no specific target and is equivalent to casting in an area. As long as you are in this area, you will be attacked. But the effect of provocation is only a few seconds. If it is not a monster, it will wake up soon. So this move is also specifically aimed at monsters, especially mobs. Wei Kai learned this skill just to attract more mobs, and then use group attack skills or a collision to eliminate them all. This will improve the effect of monster spawning and leveling. So another skill he learned, Whirlwind, was a group attack skill used to coordinate with monster spawning. After learning the skills, the two went to the Pharmacist Association again and bought a lot of potions that could add buffs. Then I went to the Taoist temple and bought some charms without thresholds for use. Finally, the two came to the Auxiliary Professional Guild. Here, Wei Kai saw many long-term buffs, the longest of which was Lucky Favor, which lasted for 7 days. Its function is also very simple, which is to increase the luck value. Luck value can affect the drop rate of items, and it can also affect the success rate of many life-related professions. It is a very important attribute. It's a pity that Wei Kai can't use it at all. In addition, there are also buffs that increase the 5-dimensional attributes, but it's a pity that they are added too little, which is a bit useless. After looking at it for a long time, Wei Kai still selected 2 buffs. They are Farstrider's Blessing, which increases movement speed, and War God's Blessing, which increases strength. Both of these attributes can directly enhance his combat effectiveness, so Wei Kai chose them without hesitation. However, these 2 buffs only last for 1 day. It was almost dark now. In order not to waste the buff time, Wei Kai did not add it to himself immediately, but wait until dawn tomorrow to come back. After visiting the Auxiliary Professional Guild, the sky gradually dimmed, and before they knew it, the two of them had been together for most of the day. Well, I'm going back. After walking out of the guild gate, Tian Xiaoling lowered her head and whispered, "Okay, I'll take you back." Wei Kai nodded. Half an hour later, the two said goodbye to each other outside Xixiang Market. Tian Xiaoling drove her car and went home. After sending the other party away, Wei Kai was not in a hurry to go home, but continued to move forward. He has a party tonight. Old place, barbecue restaurant. This time, it was Wei Kai who was treating the guests. 10 minutes later, when Wei Kai arrived at the barbecue restaurant, Wu Yi and Li Chengelin had been waiting for a long time. "Brother Kai, you are finally here, and I have good news to tell you." As soon as Wu Yi met, he said excitedly, "Oh, what good news?" Wei Kai asked as he sat down, poured himself a glass of cold beer, and drank it all in one gulp. "I'm going to open a store," Wu Yi said excitedly. "My parents and teachers all support me to open a store and sell those 2 delicious recipes to more people. This is a good thing." Wei Kai smiled and said, "Is the capital enough?" "That's enough." Wu Yi nodded. "The teacher said that graduates can apply for official loans to start their own businesses, especially since I have learned 2 cookbooks, and they can be fully interest-free. The government has always given strong support to those who have the ability. A chef who can learn 2 cookbooks is considered an outstanding talent no matter where he is. If he doesn't open his own shop, the government will find a way to hire him to work as a chef in an official restaurant." "That's good." Wei Kai nodded, then raised the wine glass in his hand and said, "Congratulations to Ai, you will be very successful in the future." "Yes, congratulations Ai." Li Chengelin also raised his glass, but his smile was a little bitter. Among the 3 partners, Wei Kai is a combat professional with a bright future. Although Wu Yi is a living professional like him, he was lucky enough to learn 2 cookbooks and was about to become famous. As an alchemist, he still accomplished nothing. He can't even afford a simple recipe, let alone other alchemy skills. Are we going to have to deal with those junk equipment from now on? While they were worried, the three of them had a drink together. Later, Wei Kaikai took out a skill book from his backpack and sent it to Li Changolin. What is this? Li Changolin was stunned. Skill book, Wei Kai explained. This, Li Changolin couldn't believe it. He was worried about his future just now, but Brother Kai pointed out the bright way for him. Brother Kai, did you get this too? Wu Yi on the side asked with curiosity on his face. Yes, Wei Kai smiled and said, I've been lucky lately. Li Changolin hesitated for a moment, but finally picked up the skill book and took a look at it. Accessory manufacturing book, he whispered the name of the skill book. When Wu Yi heard this, he immediately raised his head and looked at Wei Kai in surprise. How lucky is this? Brother Kai, you won't really open it, will you? Li Changolin was also quite shocked. Alchemists are good at making various items, the most common of which are various alchemy items, such as bombs, traps, gems, etc., while the rarest are jewelry manufacturing. Among 100 alchemists, not one may be able to learn how to make jewelry. Because this kind of skill book is too rare. This also leads to the rarity of trinkets. Rare means expensive. If he could learn this skill, Li Changolin's future might not be inferior to that of Wu Yi, who had learned 2 cookbooks. Don't talk so much nonsense, learn this before you talk. Wei Kai hurriedly urged. This, okay. Li Changolin gritted his teeth and whispered, from now on, my life will belong to Brother Kai. Wu Yi has said this before. At that time, it was also Wei Kai who presented precious skill books. Now that Li Changolin is imitating him, it is very suitable. Why do I want your life? Wei Kai smiled slightly, patted the other party's shoulder and said, just help me more in the future. After saying this, he suddenly remembered something. By the way, I have a few wolf fangs here. Can you see if they can be made into jewelry? After saying that, he took out the specially left wolf fangs from his backpack and handed them to Li Changolin. Well, let me take a look. Li Changolin nodded and quickly went to check out the newly learned skills. But after a moment, he said with a grimace, it seems that there is still a missing piece of material. What's missing? Wei Kai asked hurriedly. Gem. This thing seems to be sold by the Alchemy Guild, right? Wei Kai recalled that he seemed to have seen many gems in the Alchemy Guild in the afternoon. At that time, I was focused on alchemy items, but I didn't expect to buy them. Well, it should be for sale. Li Changolin nodded, and then promised, even if it isn't available, I can make it myself. You don't know how to refine gems. Wu Yi interrupted. I can buy skill books. Li Changolin said firmly. Gem-making skill books are not cheap, costing at least several 100,000. In the past, Li Changolin would have been reluctant to spend such a large sum of money, but it was different now. With the jewelry-making book given by Wei Kai, gem-making has become a necessary skill. After all, no matter what kind of jewelry is made, gemstones are needed. Instead of going to the guild to buy everything, it's better to make it yourself. The most important thing is that you can save a lot of money. Don't buy it yet. Wei Kai shook his head. If you need any gems, just buy them first. With Uncle Peng's precedent, he didn't want Li Changolin to be taken advantage of. The Li family is not rich, so there is no need to spend hundreds of thousands of gold coins to buy a skill book. After all, he could explode at any time. Well, then just listen to Brother Kai. Li Changolin nodded. Then after we finish the barbecue, let's go to the Alchemy Guild to buy gems together. Wu Yi suggested. Good. Wei Kai and Li Changolin nodded at the same time. After talking about this, the three of them ate and drank together, and chatted about interesting things about their school days. Although they have only graduated a few days ago, all three of them have already entered the society and have become much more mature all of a sudden. Perhaps, society is the best place to educate people. That's right. While drinking, Wu Yi suddenly said, I went to see Lao Ban today, and he said that our school seems to have allocated a few places for college. Brother Kai, do you want to try? College quota. Wei Kai was stunned for a moment, and then he remembered the way of going to university in this world. There are universities in this world, but universities are not a place for teaching and educating people, but a place for professionals to go to further their studies. Because the number of places is limited, those who can enter the university are all elite graduates. Ordinary high schools like Xixiang No. 2 middle school only have less than 10 places available each year. This is still a local ordinary university. As for the excellent universities in the capital or the capital, Xixiang No. 2 middle school has no quota at all. They only recruit the best graduates from the top high schools in Yongning City. Xixiang No. 2 middle school has not even touched the threshold. That's right, Wu Yi continued. Laoban said that as long as you can complete the first transfer within 3 months, you can register for the exam. If you pass the test, you can go to college. One turn, Wei Kai smiled bitterly and touched his nose. If it were before, this condition would be almost impossible for him to achieve. If it is an ordinary combat professional, let alone 3 months, even 3 years may not be able to complete a revolution. Because the conditions for the first transfer are really a bit harsh. Not only must the level reach level 20, but one must also complete a strict assessment task. Many people are stuck in assessment tasks all their lives and never complete a single turn. Isn't it just a change? Brother Kai, we have confidence in you. Before Wei Kai could speak, Wu Yi patted his chest and said confidently. Yeah, I think Brother Kai can definitely do it. Li Chenggelin also followed suit. Then I'll give it a try. Wei Kai thought for a while and smiled. I also want to see what university is like. Although he is very confident in himself, he cannot be too confident. In the past few years, there are many people who have been stuck on first-turn tasks due to various accidents. If he encounters a heaven-defying task and cannot complete it, it will be in vain. Yeah, my boss said, as long as it's achieved within 3 months. Wu Yi reminded again, it doesn't matter even if it's the last day. After you achieve it, just go to school and register. Yes, I remember. Wei Kai nodded again. Soon the 3 of them had eaten and drank enough, then stood up to pay and leave. Next, the 3 of them went to the alchemy guild together and bought some needed gems. In the guild, he rented a temporary alchemy laboratory for Li Chenggelin to use. After renting the laboratory, Li Chenggelin went into work, leaving only Wei Kai and Wu Yi waiting in the lobby outside. Fortunately, Li Chenggelin did not keep them waiting for too long, and soon walked out with excitement on his face. Brother Kai, it's done. After saying that, he handed over a necklace. Wei Kai took it and took a look, and his eyes lit up with the properties of the necklace. Wolf Fang Necklace Rare Necklace. Level 5. Strength plus 5. Agility plus 5. Armor break plus 5. When attacking, there is a chance of causing 10% armor piercing effect. The attributes directly given by the necklace are not very high, but among level 5 equipment, they are already considered excellent. The most important thing is that it provides 5 armor penetration points and a 10% chance of armor penetration. This is a rare attribute, much more precious than ordinary 5-dimensional attributes. Because it is equivalent to directly increasing the damage, and it is also a percentage increase. The stuff is good. Wei Kai was full of praise after reading it. Brother Kai, just keep it for use. Li Chenggelin said with a smile. Anyway, except for you, Brother Kai, none of us can use it. Ah, okay. Wei Kai nodded in agreement. Li Chenggelin was telling the truth. This kind of accessory that increases combat effectiveness can only be used by combat professions. He and Wu Yi are both living and working, so there is no use in holding them. After taking the necklace, Wei Kai put it on directly. Just as the 3 of them were happily preparing to leave, a voice suddenly came from behind them. Young man, did you make that necklace just now? When the 3 heard this, they turned around at the same time. Then I discovered that he was an old man with gray hair, but he seemed to be in good spirits and had a kind smile on his lips. Who are you? Li Chenggelin asked. I am a researcher here, you can also call me Lao Ji Yu. The old man said with a smile. Mr. Ji Yu, the necklace just now was indeed made by me. Li Chenggelin nodded. Is this your first time doing it? Mr. Ji Yu added. I saw the properties of the necklace, and they are very good. The young man is also very talented. I wonder if he is interested in joining the Alchemist Association. Alchemist Association. At first glance, Wei Kai thought it was the Alchemy Guild, but after thinking about it carefully, there was a big difference between the 2 names. Anyone who is an alchemist can automatically join the Alchemy Guild. But the current Alchemist Association may not be that easy. Mr. Gu took the initiative to send out the invitation, obviously because he was optimistic about Li Chenggelin's talent. So, this association should be quite powerful. Brother Kai, what do you think? At this moment, Li Chenggelin asked him in a low voice. I can agree to it. Wei Kai thought for a moment and said, if it's not suitable, I might as well back out. All right, Li Chenggelin nodded, and then said to Mr. Gu, I am willing to join. Okay, very good. Mr. Gu smiled slightly and waved to the side. Yu, come here. Hey, Mr. Gu. A middle-aged man ran over. Take this young man to register. Mr. Gu pointed at Li Chenggelin and said, he is the new member I just recruited into the club. You will be the one to take care of him from now on. No problem, Mr. Gu. Yu agreed without saying a word. After saying that, he took Li Chenggelin and left. Wei Kai and Wu Yi waited for another 10 minutes before Li Chenggelin came back from registration. How about it? Is this association very powerful? As soon as he came back, Wu Yi couldn't wait to ask. It's not that it's powerful or not, it's that kind of very special association. Li Chenggelin scratched his head and didn't know how to explain it for a while. He had only been in for 10 minutes, but he actually didn't know much about this association. The person who was responsible for taking him just asked him to register and then asked him to come alone tomorrow. So Li Chenggelin is still in the dark. Forget it, let's wait until Chong Lin knows more about it before asking. Wei Kai quickly came out to smooth things over. Then go back, the power will be cut off soon. The three of them have been here for more than half an hour, and they will have to take a break in an hour. It's better to go back first and talk about it later. Good. On the way back, the three of them chatted about opening a store. At first, Li Chenggelin actually wanted to open a store to sell his own jewelry. But with the news of joining the Alchemist Association, he gave up this idea. Instead of rushing to open a store, it is better to learn something first and make yourself better. After I finish my studies, there is no rush to open a store to make money. As for Wu Yi, he didn't think too much about it. Anyway, as long as he had the recipe, he could make the corresponding food. Most people don't have such high requirements for food recipes, it's enough if they can be eaten and have attributes. Who cares if it tastes good or not? While joking, the three of them got off the bus and then entered the underground elevator. Li Chenggelin's house was on the right side of the elevator, so he took the lead in saying goodbye to the two of them and turned to go home. Wei Kai and Wu Yi were left and walked together for a while. Halfway through, Wei Kai remembered something in his backpack again. By the way, this is for you. What? It's the recipe again. Wu Yi's eyes suddenly widened. I never expected that Brother Kai actually had a recipe. And why is the color of this recipe pink? Pink represents the legendary level. Ordinary recipes cannot reach this level at all. Only those very rare top recipes can be legendary. At this time, Wu Yi was a little afraid to answer. Brother Kai, this is too expensive. Is there anything valuable? Wei Kai smiled, patted the other party's shoulder and said, we are all brothers, let's learn from it. I still want to eat tomorrow. This is good. Wu Yi was not being pretentious, since Brother Kai had already said it. Of course he must go all out to learn it and then make it for Brother Kai. But, this thing seems to take a bit long, I'm afraid I won't be able to make it tonight. Then, see you tomorrow. See you tomorrow. Back home, my parents were still awake. They were all sitting in the hall watching TV, cherishing the last entertainment time before the power went out. Dad, Mom, Akai is back, Wei Yidong responded, then waved. Come here quickly, I have something to tell you. What's going on? Wei Kai asked slightly curiously. In fact, he also had something to discuss with his parents, and it was a major matter related to the whole family. Unexpectedly, my parents spoke first. After a while, when Wei Kai sat on the sofa in the living room, Wei Yidong said, I discussed with your mother and planned to buy you a house on the ground. Ah, Wei Kai was stunned. My family doesn't have much money and can only buy a small house of 40 square meters. Wei Yidong continued, but it's enough for you to live alone. You are a combat professional. Living underground for a long time is not good for your health. Dad, why did you think of buying a house? Wei Kai couldn't help scratching his head. Isn't this your Uncle Peng's business? After discussing with your mother, I felt that I couldn't treat you badly, so I thought about buying you a house so that you can live on the ground in the future. Wei Yi Tongwei said. Actually, I also want to buy a house for you two elders. Wei Kai smiled, took out a bank card from his pocket, and handed it to his father. Where did this come from? I got it from selling equipment. You've only changed jobs a few days ago, and you're already able to sell equipment. Wei Yidong was a little surprised. When most career changers are novices, they are basically burning a bottomless pit of money. Not only do they have to spend a lot of money to buy skill books, but also a series of things such as equipment, food, medicine, etc. There are very few monsters that can be defeated in the novice stage, and the explosion rate is also quite low. The equipment and materials obtained are not enough to spend on ordinary potions. Most combat professionals have to rely on family or official subsidies to survive during their novice stage. As a result, my son actually said that he could make money by buying equipment. I have better luck, Wei Kai replied with a smile. That won't make much money. Wei Yidong thought for a while and simply returned the bank card to him. You'd better keep it for yourself. Don't save when you need to spend money, you must be willing to invest. Yes, Huang Liqiao on the side also helped to speak. Spend it when you need it. Don't be reluctant to buy something good when you see it. Your parents can't help you in other places, but you still have a little savings. If you don't have enough, you can do it. Ask us for this. Wei Kai also didn't expect that his parents would return the bank card without even looking at how much money was in the card. In their opinion, the money in the card should be their own hard-earned money, which is only tens of thousands of dollars at most, so they can't bear to spend it. But this card contains a total of 10 million. You can't spend it all by yourself. Since the parents couldn't bear to spend money, they had no choice but to do it themselves. Wei Kai thought about it and finally took the card back. Well, how about we go see the house tomorrow? No problem, I'll ask for leave tomorrow. Wei Yidong agreed immediately. Okay, if you buy it earlier, you can move it to the ground earlier. Huang Liqiao also nodded. After saying this, Wei Kai went to take a bath and rest. Half an hour later, I took a break while the power was still on. Wei Kai lay on the bed and sent a message to Tian Xiaoling on his mobile phone. Sister Ling, where can I buy a house with 10 million? After 2 minutes, Tian Xiaoling replied to the message. Do you have any requirements? Do you want to buy in Xixiang district or other urban areas? Xixiang district. Wei Kai thought for a while and replied. I heard that some high-end communities will not lose power. Is it true? Yes, a community with 10 million units can provide 24-hour power supply. Really? Seeing Tian Xiaoling's reply, Wei Kai was a little confused. In this era where ordinary people can only live underground and endure the darkness and humidity, some people can actually enjoy the benefits of never losing power. You know, even the Xixiang number 2 middle school he studied in before had to cut off the power at night. From this point of view, there is really no fairness in the treatment of people. A minute later, Tian Xiaoling sent another message. If you want to buy, I recommend buying in a community near Xixiang University. The environment there is good, the conditions are good, and there will be no power outages. Xixiang University, isn't that the university I want to take the exam for? Wei Kai was stunned for a moment, then nodded slightly. It would be really good if I could buy a house nearby. Universities in this era do not require living on campus, and there is no term for full-time study. Just go to class on time and complete the various assessments assigned by the teacher. Thank you, Sister Ling. By the way, if I want to buy a house near your home, Sister Ling, how much will it cost? Wei Kai replied with a message of thanks and made a joke. Add another 0. Quote. Wei Kai's eyes suddenly widened. The next moment, the lights in the room instantly went out. The power is out. After the power outage, even the mobile phone signal is gone and messages cannot be sent. Wei Kai had no choice but to give up, throw his cell phone on the bedside, and soon fell asleep. Early the next morning, Wei Kai was woken up early by the alarm clock. When I opened my eyes, the room was pitch black with no light at all. But fortunately, the call came at this time. After turning on the light, his eyes slowly adapted to the dazzling light, and Wei Kai quickly got up and washed himself. When he left the room, he found that his parents were already waiting in the living room. Dad, it doesn't have to be so early. Wei Kai smiled and said, the sales office hasn't opened yet. Since the game came to reality, humans have been driven into the city. The space in the city was limited and could not accommodate millions of people, so a rationing system was implemented for both housing and land. Only those who can afford housing are eligible to stay on the ground. People who cannot afford a house have no choice but to be driven underground. Because of this policy, real estate is completely owned by the government, and all housing transactions must obtain official permission. Because of this, the sales office has become a hotspot and a place that countless young people yearn for. The status is comparable to the 5 major industries in the previous life. The sales office will only open after dawn, so if you arrive early, you can only wait outside. I'm used to it. I can't sleep when the alarm clock goes off. Wei Yidong replied with a smile. Wei Kai curled his lips and said, this is a bad habit. We must change it in the future. How to change it? You can't see the sun here. Do you think I don't want to wait for the sun to bask in before getting up? Old Wei, why are you talking to your son? Huang Liqiao shouted quickly. It's okay, it will be fine later. Wei Kai smiled, full of expectations for the house he was about to buy. After living underground for more than 10 years, I can finally return to the surface. I can finally sleep until I wake up naturally and enjoy the beautiful morning with the sun basking on my butt. Wei Kai was thinking about something when the cell phone in his pocket suddenly rang. He took it out and saw that it was Wu Yi calling. Hey, what's the matter? Brother Kai, I'm sorry, I'm really busy here and can't leave at all. How about you bring your uncle and aunt to my store to eat? On the other end of the phone, Wu Yi's apologetic voice came, along with many chaotic and noisy voices. Apparently there were a lot of people around him. Okay, Wei Kai thought for a while and simply nodded in agreement. As agreed before, Wu Yi would make him a recipe every day so that he could increase various attributes. Now that Wu Yi's shop has just opened, there are too many customers, and the family can't handle it. So let's just go there and eat. What's going on? After hanging up the phone, Wei Yidong asked curiously. It's a. Wei laughed and said, he opened a shop and invited us over for breakfast. Okay, Huang Liqiao said happily. I just heard yesterday that his family was going to open a store. I didn't expect it to be so soon. Then let's go. Wei Kai waved his hand and went out with his parents. A few minutes later, the 3 of them arrived on the ground, only to find that it was already bustling outside. At this time, although it was not completely dark yet, most people had already woken up and started a day of hard work. If he hadn't asked for leave, Wei Kai's parents would have been one of them. Even he himself had to rush on the bus to get to a good leveling area. Maybe this is the fate that everyone has to face in the new era. It would be great if one day we could completely eliminate the monsters in the wild, crack the secret of the game's arrival in reality, and restore the world to normal. Wei Kai sighed in his heart. Wu Yi's new store is in Xixiang Market, and Wei Kai's family chose to walk there. 10 minutes later, when the 3 of them arrived at the store, they found that the place was already crowded with people, and people queuing up half the street. Seeing this scene, Wei's father and Wei's mother couldn't help but open their mouths. Why is Ai's store so popular? You must have gone to the wrong place, right? That's right. Wei Kai smiled slightly and said, Ai's shop sells recipes and food, so of course they are popular. These days, as long as you are a combat professional, you cannot refuse recipes and foods. Because this thing has added attributes. Although you can only eat it once a day, if you eat a few more kinds, you can still increase a lot of attributes. If you can persist for a long time, it will be a considerable amount of money accumulated over time. Because of this, every store that sells food recipes will have a large number of combat professionals coming to buy them. However, some recipes and foods are too expensive and cannot be afforded by ordinary combat professionals. Wu Yijia's new store happens to be more affordable. Therefore, as soon as it opened, it became popular immediately, attracting a large number of combat professionals nearby. Then when will we be scheduled? Huang Liqiao worriedly said. We can't delay the business. Don't worry, A has left a separate private room for us. Wei Kai smiled slightly. As the eldest brother among his friends, he certainly had privileges. Wu Yi had also said a long time ago that a private room was reserved for him so that he could take his parents to eat with him. Come with me. Wei Kai waved and soon took his parents into the store, and then found the private room reserved by Wu Yi. The private room is not big, but it is more than enough for 3 people. After Wei Kai sat down, Wu Yi immediately ran over in a hurry. Brother Kai, Uncle Wei, Aunt Huang, you are finally here. Stop talking nonsense and serve. Wei Kai urged. He knew that Wu Yi was very busy and didn't want to waste the other person's time. Okay, no problem. Wu Yi nodded, turned around and went to serve the food. However, Huang Liqiao was a little unhappy and scolded Wei Kai. This kid, what are you talking about? It took a lot of effort for him to come over and say hello. I don't want to waste his time. Look at how busy he is. Wei Kai pointed at Wu Yi, who was very busy, and explained. A few minutes later, the barbecue, spicy rabbit meat, and 9-turn large intestine that Wei Kai needed were served. Each person has 1 portion of the 3 dishes, making a total of 9 portions. Looking at the delicious food in front of them, Wei Yidong and Huang Liqiao opened their mouths wide. Are these all recipe foods? Huang Liqiao couldn't help but ask. Yes, these are all done by A. Wei Kai said with a smile. A is ready to make a career. Wei Yidong praised with great certainty. Do these 3 dishes cost a lot of money? Huang Liqiao asked with a distressed look on her face. Why don't we stop eating and you can eat alone? These are I's treat. Wei Kai waved his hand and said, if you don't eat, you won't get it. But these favors always have to be repaid. Huang Liqiao sighed. I ate their food today, and I have to find a way to pay it back tomorrow. To be honest, with the current financial situation of the Wei family, they are not qualified to enjoy such a feast. In her opinion, eating these things by herself is a complete waste. When Wei Kai heard this, he couldn't help but laugh. If this can be considered a favor, A will never be able to repay the favor of those 3 cookbooks in his lifetime. Mom, you think too much. He quickly advised. Today I just have a simple breakfast. If you want to eat in the future, just pay for it. It's not like you can't afford it. If you don't want to eat, I will. After saying that, he immediately started to feast. As he started eating, the aroma of meat soon filled the private room. Seeing how deliciously he ate, Wei Yidong and Huang Liqiao couldn't help but swallow their saliva. Eat, don't think so much. Wei Yidong couldn't help but said, and then moved his chopsticks. Just eat. Huang Liqiao finally couldn't bear it anymore. 10 minutes later, all 3 portions of food were gone. In the exclamation of their parents, the 2 elders respectively increased their physical constitution, attack power and health by 5 points. Yes, what the 9-turn large intestine increases is health value. Health value is closely related to a person's physical condition, and the maximum value is 100 points. Normal people's health points are around 60 to 80. Only combat professionals in excellent condition can break through 90 points. Since changing jobs, Wei Kai's health has been maintained at around 80 points. The health values of Wei Yidong and Huang Liqiao have always been low, hovering below 60 points. Now, although they have only increased by 5 points, they clearly feel that their bodies are rejuvenating and they are becoming younger. This dish is so amazing. Huang Liqiao touched her younger face and couldn't help but exclaimed. This is a rare thing, of course it's magical. Wei Kai replied with a smile. You know, the 9-turn large intestine is a legendary recipe, and 1 copy can be sold for 5 million gold coins. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.